Hey everybody, it's Carl's from Carl's Opinion, and hey, hold on a sec. Anyway, this is our Friday night, Saturday morning, early morning, late night, early morning call-in show. Hey everybody. Yeah, I took a nice little long nap today, so woke up. I'm like, hey, it's kind of late, and I was just checking through the news stories here, and let's go and just fix this overlay right now, real quick, while we're just starting out. We don't really have anybody watching yet, and let's get this fixed here. Let's try one more time. Hold on, guys. Mm. All right, that'll work. All right. Well, anyway, let me just start recording here real quick. Also, anyway, welcome to Carl's Opinion Friday night, Saturday morning, early morning call-in show, and a lot of news to get to tonight. So let's go and get to it. You saw the title here: Joe Biden loves identity politics. Not anymore. And this is what happens when you live by identity politics. It'll come back and bite you in the butt. And there was a story here, and I see the main headline here: battered Biden. Of course, alliteration. I use it too. Biden gets bit in the butt. Battered Biden drops 10 points after first debate. And let's take a look at a story. The reason why I say identity politics, he loves identity politics. He gave an interview back in February. He was over in Europe, and he's talking about European culture, white man's culture, and talking about how America's an embarrassment and stuff. And then here it is, you live by identity politics, you die by identity politics. And let's take a look at this other story here from, I bookmarked it. Let's just pull it up here real quick. Let's see. Let's see here. All right, let me make sure I got it big enough for you guys. Let's make it a little bit bigger. All right. And you see here from the headline, this was from March 26th of this year. Biden rips white man's culture, regrets Anita Hill hearing. And let's just see what he had to say back then. And this was New York. Former Vice President Joe Biden condemned a white man's culture. Basically, what you have is a self-hating white man. Other cultures have it too. We're not the only ethnicity where you have self-hating people in your ethnicity. You have self-hating black men, self-hating Hispanic men, self-hating generally men though. Generally not women. You don't hear like self-hating white women, self-hating black women. I think it's just reserved for men as a gender issue. Hey, Irina Linsky, how you doing tonight? Good seeing you. Yeah, I think it's reserved for men for some reason. It's like a gender thing. So here you have Joe Biden, a white man, obviously, and he's got this "I hate myself" kind of attitude, and so he's playing this identity politics, like he's trying to be, okay, white people suck, vote for me for president, actually nominate me for the Democratic Party, presidential candidate because I hate white people too, I'm better at hating white people because I'm a white person, and so I can hate white people better than you can. So anyway, so he starts down this road back in March because he realizes that he's an old white guy and he's gonna have a hard time winning the Democratic nomination. So he so he condemned a white man's culture Tuesday night as he lashed out against violence against women, and more specifically lamented his role in the Supreme Court confirmation hearing that undermined Anita Hill's credibility nearly 3 decades ago. Biden, a Democratic presidential prospect, who often highlights his white working class roots, said Hill, who is African American, should not have been forced to face a panel of a bunch of white guys. Well, I don't know what you wanted to do about that. I mean, that's who made up the Senate back in see what year was that? 1989? Is that when he? No, it was 1991, I believe, is when Clarence Thomas was put up to the Supreme Court. I want to say it was 1991, if I'm not mistaken. And I mean, that's who was sitting on the Senate. You had Joe Biden, liberal Democrat. Democrats control the Senate. That's just who was in the Senate. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what he's supposed to do about that. Was he supposed to like? I guess it's funny. Joe Biden, if he really believed that way, he could have like resigned while he was in office and asked the governor to appoint, a black guy to fill his spot if he really felt that good about it, that hard up about it. And it's like, oh, I shouldn't be here, and asked the governor, hey, do me a favor. Democratic governor say, go to the governor and say, hey, can you do me a favor? There's this black politician I know is really good, and I'm going to resign so he can get, you can not, you can, put him in office, and then he can, run for reelection 2 years from now. You know, just to go ahead and appoint him. But he didn't say that, so there you go. Hold on a sec. There we go. But anyway, yeah, he didn't say that then. But I guess I guess that would have been a bridge too far for him. So anyway, so he goes out. He went on to say, "To this day, I regret I couldn't come up with any way to give her the kind of hearing she deserved." He said, echoing comments he delivered last fall as the nation debated sexual misconduct allegations against Brett Kavanaugh amid a Supreme Court confirmation hearing. Later in his Tuesday remarks, Biden called on Americans to change the culture, quote unquote, change the culture that dates back centuries and allows pervasive violence against women. I'm not sure that's a European culture thing. I think you can find violence against women in all cultures across all the continents of the world. I mean, is it limited to the continent of Europe and then like people who came from Europe to settle other places? Is there not violence against women in Africa or Asia or I don't know, maybe even Australia? I don't know, Antarctica. Go figure. You know, but anyway, so he said it's an English. This I like the best. It's an English jurisprudential culture. A white man's culture has got to change. Well, English jurisprudence has nothing to do with violence against women. Sargon of Akkad covered this pretty good back in March when this story came out, and he was talking about English common law and how it was just the opposite of what this guy was saying. So I'm not sure. Well, I mean, look, Biden was getting ready to run, and he was playing the identity politics, and and again, you live by identity politics, you die by identity politics. And talking about this white man's culture and European culture sucks, and we all suck, and we should just all turn the country over to other cultures. Let's see. Not sure how long I can stay tonight. It's 3:36 here. I've only had 5 hours sleep in the last 3 days. Oh, geez, Lorena. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, I wasn't really sure how many people would be coming on this late. I took a really nice nap. I got home, I ate, and took a really long nap. I woke up just not that long ago, actually. And I figured, well, I'll just go ahead and put this on. I checked the news stories. But yeah, that's fine. Whatever you got to do, Irina, good to go. But let's get to this next story here also on Biden. Oh, and then, of course, Joe Biden goes to Europe. And why not? He's on a roll. Tells Europeans, this was back in February, tells Europeans in Munich that America is an embarrassment. So mainly because of our immigration issue. Because he's gonna allow everybody. Remember now, if you open the borders up, if you tell everybody around the world, people are coming all the way from Africa to get here right now. Okay, if you tell everybody around the world, like these Democrats get elected in 2020, you say, hey, you come in, we're not going to consider it a crime if you cross our border. And check this out to make it better for you. And as soon as you cross, you get full health care coverage and full benefits, everything. Do you know how many hundreds of millions of people were showing up here? I think Gallup did a poll of South and Central America, and they asked people, in South America, Central America, if you could just come to the border, you don't have to worry about border patrol or anything like that, and you could just come across. How many people would come across? And like something like they figured out it was like 147 million people from South America would come across right now. I mean, they would find a way to get here. Okay, if they knew they could just walk across the border, 147 million people from South America would be here tomorrow. Well, we can't absorb that. We're 330 million people. I mean, then you tell everybody else around the world, hey, if you just get here, we're not going to kick you out, and you get free benefits and free stuff and free everything and free health care. I mean, Jesus Christ, these people are insane. I couldn't believe last night. So anyway, Biden tells Europeans, back in February, America is an embarrassment. We're an embarrassment because we're trying to, keep our country intact. Speaking on German soil, 75 years after U.S. and allies prepared for D-Day, Joe Biden described America as an embarrassment and his trade policy self-defeating. The America I see values basic human decency, not snatching children from their parents or turning our back on refugees at our border. Turning refugees. These aren't refugees. There's no war going on. I hate to tell everybody, there's no war going on in Central America. It's like, remember all those quote unquote refugees that went over to Europe, from Syria and stuff? Well, there was a war. I'll give him that much. There was actually a civil war going on in Syria. I saw it on the news every night. It was there. People were dying, and they said we would like to flee this violence, this war. Well, there's no war. I covered this the other night on the Guatemala story. You know, the one of the government leaders in Guatemala went through the statistics, and he goes, "Hey, our GDP doubled in the last 10 years. Our unemployment dropped like a full percentage point from like 3.7% to 2.7% in the last ten years. They have lower unemployment than we do. Crime is the lowest it's been in 15 to 20 years. The murder rate dropped in half in the last 10 years." And he goes, you know, and the guy, the father who died with his daughter trying to cross the Rio Grande, he worked at a pizza shop, and he had a wife and a kid. He worked at a pizza shop in El Salvador. He had a job. I mean, if you saw, you know, unfortunately, if you saw the bodies of these two, I mean, they weren't floating for days and days. I mean, you know, they were healthy. These were healthy people. These weren't like starving people. Like remember, like in the '80s, they used to show the people from Ethiopia, like their stomachs were all overinflated and they're real thin. You see the bones and everything sticking out on them. And you know, Ethiopia and Somalia and stuff. People were actually really starving. I mean, this was like they had a drought and they had a famine, and it was really rough. I mean, it was real. It was like, my God, this is real. Well, you know, the people coming across our border don't look like that. If you happen to notice, Effie loves America. What the hell? Dark. 41 a.m. Hey, Effie, good seeing you. Yeah, I took a really long nap. Ate dinner. I came home, ate dinner, and took a really long nap. And I woke up, and I'm like, oh, some news. And I'm like, oh, let me cover this. But the thing about Biden, I just wanted to cover. Yeah, if you want to call in, Effie, go right ahead. Not a problem. I got the phones up and everything. So if you want to call in, go for it. But yeah, the Biden story just cracked me up because I saw that he went down 10 points. In fact, let me get back to that story. Where is it? Let's see. Uh, no, where was it? Oh, maybe I dumped it. Hold on, let me grab it real quick here. Okay, hold on. There we go. Yeah, I caught this story. Biden dropped 10 points after the first debate among likely Democratic voters. So I wanted to cover that story, and this was from the Washington Examiner. And so basically, what I was saying is the whole identity politics coming back and biting him in the butt. And you saw that with you know, the whole busing thing and Kamala Harris and everything. And I was just they mentioned Jake Tapper, and I went back and I watched Jake Tapper, and sure enough, Jake Tapper interviewed Kamala Harris back in January, and she was talking about busing, and Jake Tapper goes, well, you know, Biden was actually against busing, and actually at one point was supporting a constitutional amendment to stop it. And she looks at him and she goes, I did not know that. You saw the wheels spinning in Kamala Harris's head, like, oh shit, this is gonna be great because I got this personal story where I was actually on, you know, being bused to, you know, Thousand Oaks, you know, California, and then Biden was actually against it. And I was a little girl when he was out there in the Senate back in the early '70s, you know, doing this. Yeah, Kamala Harris is like my age. She's 54. I'm gonna be 54 this summer, so back then she would have been like say 8 or 9, 10 years old, something like that, maybe when she was getting buzzed. But she just totally slammed him on this one. But you know, he brought it upon himself. You know, he again, every culture has people who hate themselves. You know, you African American community, they have men who hate themselves, and white people, you have men who hate themselves. I'm sure there's some Asians out there who hate themselves, some Hispanics who hate themselves, and I get it. It's kind of funny way because you never hear about women who hate themselves. It's like just men, you know, when they talk about their own culture, their own ethnicity. And here's Biden going, you know, going against his own ethnicity, you know, saying I hate myself, you know, vote for me for president, you know. And so then he's talking all this nonsense. Well, then Kamala Harris brings it, you know, right back on him, saying, well, hey, you know, you were against busing, you're going to pass a bill, actually a constitutional amendment, you know. Again, I don't think she even got to the constitutional amendment part. I don't know if she did that much research, but he did, and there's a nice little NPR story on that. I'll get to in a few minutes. Back, he did an interview with NPR back in the '70s, talking about if they couldn't get it done statutorily, he would seek a constitutional amendment to ban busing. I mean, that's pretty intense. You know, up here we go. Hey, Effie, how you doing?
Hi. I had a nap too, so I can call.
Yay! Yeah, taking that
If
nap was cool.
if
I didn't wake
if
up
you
till after
want me
10.
to.
Yeah, I said. Did you
Oh
hear?
yeah.
You never
Wow.
listen. You never listen to me. Didn't you hear me say on air? I said, Effie, if you want to call in, call in.
Yeah, yeah. I heard you. I heard you say that. That's
There
why I
you go.
called in.
Oh yeah. But how
Yeah.
you doing?
Yeah, I heard you say that.
Okay, cool.
I was saying I took a nap too. That's why I'm awake because I was up early and then I had things to do and I had to go see people and that always exhausts me.
Right.
So I'd rather stay here and do things in the house. But
Yeah.
and my cat, he doesn't bother me too much. So
Well, he knows better
I
now.
was just now. he yeah, Mike chucked him across the room accidentally. That was
Right.
an accident, but
Uh-huh.
maybe he doesn't know that.
Yeah, probably not.
But I had. I do want to say I know I'm getting older too. I'm not as old as some people, but I wasn't going to go there. But I, I I am getting older, and I watched. I actually endured the entire second debate last night,
Uh-huh.
and I'm proud of myself for that because it was hard.
Yeah.
It was hard to do. It was like a marathon.
Right.
I
Right.
made it through the whole thing. I know, you know. And hi, Arena. I'm saying hi to Arena in case she's still awake.
Yeah. Yeah, she said she's getting ready
um,
to go to sleep.
yeah, I don't blame her. It's almost morning. I mean, it's almost sun up here. So the um, the thing is, and then you were talking about Kamala, and you were talking about Mr. Biden and how they're losing. He's losing points, and I've been kind of sort of. I've been busy today, but I've been kind of hearing here and there as I'm driving around people saying how Harris, you know, seemed to have been the big winner and quote unquote. And I watched the whole thing, and I came away with hating her the most. Is it just
Right.
because I have such a, it's in my age? I mean, she's older than me, but I have a disconnect with the way she's appealing to the young, hard left Democrat base,
Hmm.
and I don't, connect with them. But to
That
me,
could
she
be.
just seemed
Yeah.
unpleasant and angry, and she was abrasive, and of course, I think I screamed out liar like 3 times when she was talking. So there's that. People
Well,
who are dishonest
we gotta be
bother me.
careful about the double standard when it comes to men and women. I mean, look, we like Trump when he's
Yeah.
abrasive and in people's face, right? But a woman does it. We got to watch we don't back right into that saying, well, but they always say, well, if I was a man, I'd be getting accolades, but I'm a woman, I'm not supposed to sound
Yeah,
like
but
that.
what she did was take women back, in my opinion, because she went all emotional and personal about her story. The thing that you were saying was like a win for her, and
Yeah.
people seem to think it was a win. It repulsed me because her little story about how busing affected her. Well, there. There are going to be lots of other people with stories about the opposite, how
Oh,
busing was bad or
I,
busing was
I
good,
know, I
based on their
know,
personal story.
I know a lot of those stories. I know a lot of those stories. In fact,
Yeah,
when
yeah.
I learned them about a
So
year and
her
a half
story,
ago.
she's
Yeah.
saying my personal story is the most important one because I have an emotion about it. And since I'm a woman, my emotion trumps everything. Pardon the
Well,
Trump pun.
she had
But
it. Well, I've been
it
waiting. Look,
repulsed
okay.
me.
Well, I know it repulsed you, and I'll tell you why I was happy because, as you know, I predicted her to win the Democratic nominee, and so she's really been pissing me off for the
Oh,
last
yeah.
couple of months because she's gonna make me out to look like I'm an idiot. So I was very happy to see her. Right, I was very happy to see her. She had to do a breakaway moment, and Jake Tapper told her about this back in January. Did you know Biden was against busing?
Yeah, now
And
you're making it about you, though, Mr. Carl, which
yes,
is what
I am.
repulsed me about her.
Yes, I am totally making this all about me because I predicted she was going to win the Democratic nomination. She's been screwing it up
And
for
you
months.
did. You did. I
I
heard you.
did,
You did.
and now she finally found an issue. And she when you can see when Tapper told her that. I can't play the YouTube the CNN video of it because it's got some commercials on it. I don't want to
Yeah,
get
yeah.
all of a sudden the screen will go blank. It goes, "Zzz," and it'll be
Yeah, she made
copyright.
hay. Yeah,
Yeah, but
yeah.
her eyes, just this little sparkle, and I recognize that as a lawyer. Also, like you're in court and you hear a
Mhm.
witness say something, and all of a sudden the wheel starts spinning. Like you don't immediately react. It's not checkers. Like you think, okay, what am I going to do with this later? And I saw it in her eyes.
Mhm.
I saw that look, and I'm like, I know that look. And sure as shit, She held it. She waited. She was smart.
Right.
Showed she was patient. Waited till this debate, and then had the social media campaign ready to go. That tweeter thing, Twitter, whatever tweet. She put that tweet out there saying, showing the picture of her in the pigtails when she's a little girl. Oh, she jumped. Oh
Mhm.
shit, she jumped. How many points did she jump? Let me look real quick. I'll tell you right now. Let's see. He went down 10 among like this was the poll was let me well shit, let me
Mhm.
just pull it back up. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Is there a demographic breakdown on that poll? Is that what you're
Okay, it
posing?
was it was a 538 poll. Only let me put it back on screen. That's kind of stupid. Let me do that. Let me do that. Okay, hold on. There
Do
we go.
that.
I'll do that. Now you're not gonna be able to see it right away because we got my little delay here, but I will tell you what it says. In other words, right. In other words, it's not on screen for another 20 seconds after we're talking. It's on screen right now, but it won't. You won't see it on YouTube.
It's all
Uh,
right. I'm walking to the refrigerator.
there you go. Okay. Support for Joe Biden
I
dropped
need a
10.
Diet Coke.
There you go. Okay. So let's see. Support for Joe Biden dropped 10 points. Let's see. Let me see the poll. Okay. Okay. He commanded 41.5% support among likely Democratic voters before the first presidential debate. Spanning across Wednesday and Thursday, support plummeted to 31.5% afterwards, according to Morning Consult slash 538 polls. And let's see,
Mhm.
I'll tell you the breakdown on it. It was, let's see, and then she gained 9 points, nearly 9 points, going from 7.9% to 16.6%. That's huge. That's a 9 point bump in one night.
Mhm.
And I'll tell you how they
Yeah.
see. So let's see. Poll determined candidate. Here we go. Poll determined candidates pre-debate support from 7,150 respondents from June 19th to June 26th, with a margin of error of only 1 percentage point because they had such a large sample. The post-debate support came from 1,399 respondents who were part of the 7,150 pre-debate group on June 27th and June 28th, the night of the debates. Now this
Mhm.
margin is a little higher because the respondents were the sample size was smaller. Uh, June 27th and June 28th with a margin of error of 3 percentage points. Of those, 846 had watched the Thursday debate or both of the debates. So they start off with a nice sample size. So it was pretty good numbers. So he went down 10 percentage points.
Mhm.
She gained pretty much the 9 she gained was from his 10 probably. And then Booker jumped on board today too, because then Biden, of course, he is really out of touch. Now, what he said would play well in Middle America. What he said today, as far as trying to make up for what he said, on the debate stage last night. But it doesn't work for the Democratic Party because
Right.
I'll show you what he did. You hear what he said? And
Right.
Booker
Because
jumped
they're
on it.
so hard left now that they don't make any sense. But wait. First, I want to address what he said, what he was trying to say, but he was getting interrupted, which was that he didn't oppose it, but he opposed making a federal mandate so that it was up to the community. So if your community, Miss Harris, didn't like it, well, that's how we. But see, what he was actually taking was a constitutional republic position on the matter, and of course, the Democrats are anti-constitutional republic. So, so the point being, his position was something that I agree with.
Well, no,
So that adds another layer to it.
his position was supported by Gallup. Here, I'll put up the Gallup poll now from 1973. Okay, this was at the height of buzzing, 1973.
It's the
Gallup.
same position I take on Roe v. Wade. Just, it should be a state thing, not a federal thing,
Well, I'll get to his position
right?
from
Am
19.
I am I mistaken? And
Well,
it's what he
but
said. He
well,
voted.
that's what he said now. But
Okay,
we're gonna get
okay.
to what he was saying back in '73 in a second. I'll get to this one real quick. Here, let me just punch this up so people can see it
Hmm.
better. Da, 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 da. Well, I get my mouse in the right place. Here we go. Doom, 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 doom. There we go. Okay, this is a poll from Gallup poll from 1973. Let's see. A majority of Americans. This is 1973 talking. This is a time machine. A majority of Americans continue to favor public school integration, but few people, black or white, think that busing is the best way to achieve that goal. Gallup poll reported yesterday being September 8th, 1973. Okay. 5% of the people in a recent survey by the organization, 9% of the blacks and 4% of the whites chose busing children from one district to another rather than several other alternatives. In other words, you only had 9% of black people and 4% of white people in 1973 after busing had been going on for a few years saying, yeah, this is a good idea.
Okay.
And
So
yeah, yeah, no, he
so
was in
the
the
issue itself
yeah.
wasn't popular, but
No.
also how he got to that place.
And we'll get
Yes,
to
but how he got to the place, I think, was more important. What he was saying on stage, which was, it's up to this local community, and if your local community was against busing, then that was your local community, your local. What did he say? I don't know what he said. If he said your town or whatever he said, but we put the power back into the hands of the community. And she was like, you should have forced at a federal level, top down, socialist dictatorship. So that's
well, yeah. Now,
that's
when you now
social
when you now when you
dictatorship.
now you got he's got to be really careful
And then
because
she got the big cheer because everybody in the audience was like, "Yeah,
yeah.
the feds have to make everybody do what we think is right." Now, but she was basing it on what she wanted. Now, if you're saying 9% of blacks and 4% of whites, or vice versa, were actually that was the only percent of people were for it, and she was in the vast overwhelming minority, and she wanted the federal government to force her community to go against what most people wanted. Plus, she was a kid at the time, so what the hell did she know?
Well, actually, we don't even know what she thought. She didn't say what she thought about it at the time. She never said,
Yeah,
"I
well,
like the idea. I like the idea of being put on a bus and driving to a different
yeah,
neighborhood."
right.
And we're only
Right.
like her and like
And she doesn't know, and nobody knows anyway, because if she would have had a different experience, she probably would have bitched about that too, because she's a professional complainer.
good.
So
Well, okay.
whatever her
Hey, stop
experience
beating up
was.
on her. She's supposed to win the Democratic nomination. I don't want to. Stop being so negative. Give this woman a break. But no. But anyway,
Oh, I'm
no.
not even done yet because I had a whole other impression, but we'll get to that when you're done making your point.
But I mean, now we got to be really careful because remember now, states' rights. Oh, each state should determine if you can have slaves or not. States' rights. That's where this whole debate comes to. So anyway, so okay, if there is a federally protected right, now I disagree that there's a federally protected right to be able to bus children from one neighborhood to another. That school integration, that's the best way to do it. We need okay, separate but equal wasn't working. Okay, back in the 50s, that was the reality of the 50s. Separate but equal was not working. Okay, the difference between the white school and the black school in the same freaking little zip code were two totally different places, okay, for education. Period. Nobody argues with that. Nobody says that. Now, how they got to Brown versus the Board of Education, how they reasoned it to say it's a constitutionally protected right, we could have a nice legal argument on that one way or the other. It doesn't really matter. But it became law of the land. It was a 9-0 decision, by the way. 9-0 decision. Conservatives, liberals all said, yeah, what they said was, okay, we really can't find a constitutional right for it, but we got to fix this. Nobody else is fixing it. We're going to step in and we're going to fix it. And that's how it came about. And then busing became like, and they said pretty much the Congress can pass laws to to see to it that this goes into effect. That you create an integrated school
And
system.
I'm all for a topical application to a imminent problem, like a situation that requires, like, say we get swarmed with mosquitoes causing malaria in an unusual number, and we have to release poisons into the atmosphere we wouldn't normally, but people are dying.
Right.
You gotta deal with some things in a topical manner. I understand that, but it doesn't mean we got to make it a federal mandate in that kind of way, because I always say, the the one size fits all approach always hurts more than it helps.
Well, yeah,
so many people get mistreated under that kind of a top-down management.
Yeah, no, if you take if you try to shortcut it, yeah, it's going to cause problems. So, but I mean, and what he was trying to say was, he was trying to say like today, I don't know what he was trying to say today because he was all tongue tied, but I think what he was trying to say was okay. Look, I was saying
He
it's
wasn't expecting that.
right. Well, I think what he was trying to say today was it was It's a. I was okay with voluntary, busing, which didn't even make sound like states doing it. It sounded like just if a community says we want to do busing, but what community would volunteer for that? Nobody. So the point is either you're for
Hmm.
busing as a way to integrate schools, or you're against busing to integrate schools. Now, what he should have said was,
Hmm.
which was the opinion at the time, he could have gone, "Hey, look, I was alive in the '70s, and this was going on. Everybody was against it. Here's the polling at the time." And I was for integration of
Yeah.
schools. I just thought busing was a bad way to do it. And guess what? Everybody, black, white, in the middle, in between, said, "Yeah, this sucks." And
Including your parents, Miss Harris. So,
yeah, I'm sure
by
they
the
weren't.
way.
I'm sure they weren't jumping up and down about the idea either. Yeah. I mean, her
Yeah,
father's from
yeah.
Jamaica. He's part. I think he was
Are you
part.
disrespecting your parents right now, Miss Harris? Do you have no respect for your elders? But you know what? This takes me. I gotta say it. I'm okay. I'm not African American or Jamaican or whatever Kamala Harris is. She Jamaican? Yeah, she's Jamaican. She's not
Uh,
African. She's
Jamaica, well,
Jamaican Indian,
Indian, right? Yeah, yeah.
as I recall. Jamaican and Indian. Anywho, but X has he has a platform where he can speak on subjects. He can speak on the homosexual community. He can speak on the Black American community with more freedom because he's a member of those communities. And I can say things, but I'm going to get hate for saying it because I'm Irish, German.
German,
I'm
Italian
pretty clear.
myself.
I'm so white, I'm clear.
Yeah, German,
So,
Italian myself. Well,
um,
Italian, I'm a little darker than you are probably. Yeah, because I got the Italian blood in me.
is yeah, everybody's darker than me. So point is, I'm a vampire. So the point is, what I saw was a social construct that's happening today. As we know, more than 70% of our Black American families are without fathers. They're born to single mothers. The overwhelming alpha in the Black American community today in 2019 is the strong Black mama. And that's what she was representing. She had the angry face. She had the talking over people. She had the spouting nonsense and being emotional and making it all about her, the narcissism, the whole 9 yards. But guess what? For a lot of people, that's home. That's home. And even if a well-adjusted, healthy, balanced Black American has, two parents, and they did have thankfully, the benefit of having two parents in their life. Most of their friends don't because of the percentages. It's unfortunate, but that's what you're around. The teachers, everybody has a lot of that exact persona of what is a strong somebody to be looked up to, the alpha in the community, who's running the community. A lot of people who are commentators, or Black commentators, who have more authority to speak on such things because
You,
of
you should
by
you,
virtue of
you
being
should
Black
go on.
themselves.
You should go on a site that I was made a moderator. I'm one of the probably few white moderators on the site. It's the Negro Manosphere, and I was the first white guy to be interviewed on
That's
that
a
guy's
funny name.
channel.
I like that. The
Well,
Negro
that yeah. Well,
Manosphere.
in fact, one of the
That's
guys the
pretty
other
cool.
night, yeah, one of the guys the other night, because I'm over there all the time. Again, I was made a moderator on the site, and I was
Uh,
interviewed on the site. So one of the guys
yeah,
came over and they put in
yeah,
in my chat, hey, hi from the Negro Manosphere. How you doing, Carl? And YouTube initially blocked it
yeah.
because that's one of my blocked words, right? But I'm like, oh shit, yeah, I know, yeah,
Oh, sure, sure, yeah,
I had
yeah.
to unblock it,
That
right?
like like poor DB's name. He's getting all blocked all over the place because his name was DB. He couldn't
Right,
say his name.
yeah.
So,
So yeah, I had to unblock it. But yeah,
but it's not
well, it's
even
funny.
about
Well,
that
no,
as
well, no,
much as
well,
I was
no,
just
no.
covering.
Yeah, no. Let me talk about
Yeah,
that for a sec. It's a big
sure,
talking
sure.
point over there is because Negro Manosphere about black men vis-a-vis a lot of times vis-a-vis black women, and how black men need to reassert themselves in the community, and kind of get a handle on this
Yeah,
thing because their concern is right that the black women are dominating the community, and their opinion is that
absolutely. They're in
it's
second
going to
position
shit.
by numbers alone.
Right. Their opinion is
Sure.
going to shit because of that. And so yeah, you'd be welcome on that side. You'd be like, yeah, no
And
kidding.
that's not, and well, that part of it is not my business. Whether they think it's going to crap or not is not my place to say. But I wanted to lay out that groundwork to say from a psychological perspective, just noticing that that is the culture, that the situation for that segment of the population is that that represents comfort and home. In other words, whatever you grew up with, even if what you grew up with is a mess, that's what you're used to. Like when you grow up with abusive parents, you go marry an abusive spouse. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's what is normal to you.
Well,
Normative is what
yeah.
people tend to.
Yeah, what I saw more from her was more, and maybe it's just my own lawyer's perspective on it, and probably also my own bias because I want her to win the nomination because I predicted it. I saw more of like a prosecutor. I saw a prosecutor who the defendant decided for some whatever reason to take the stand and testify in his own defense, and I saw a prosecutor
Sure,
just laying the
sure.
case and then just tearing them up.
And I
And
can see that.
yeah, because when you're in front of a jury,
Sure.
when you're in front of a jury, you don't sit up there and ask questions like a robot. That's how you lose. I mean, you bring that in there. You say now you're
Mhm.
not allowed to
Mhm.
vouch for the credibility of a witness or to unvouch for him, if you will. But you can ask a question like, well, what were you thinking? Like, what's wrong with you? Like,
Mhm.
there's something
Mhm.
wrong
Mhm.
with you,
Mhm.
because you got to make it personal for the jury. So the jury goes, yeah, what's wrong with this guy?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I saw it from that point of view. And yeah, she
Sure.
brought in her own personal story, which I can't do in court. I can't say, well, when I
No.
was growing up,
Yeah, she has
we
more
didn't.
leeway to be that
Yeah, she's
kind of special kind of dishonest because it's a so-called debate,
not
so therefore she
dishonest.
can
Stop it already. What are you
do all
saying?
kinds of antics.
I caught that little attack on me there, special kind of dishonest, as in like the unspecial dishonesty I do
No,
in court. I caught that. You're not
no,
hiding it.
no, 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 no. That's not actually. I didn't even think of that, but that would have been a good shade if I had thought of it that way.
Yeah, that would have been.
No, actually, I was saying that the antics of the so-called debates, because they're not debates, they're just people. They're getting away with saying stuff without citation and without anybody coming up against them, because of course they're on friendly ground with at MSNBC, etc.
Oh,
So
the
nobody's
moderators.
going to
Yeah.
question their nonsense.
No, no. I mean, the
Yeah.
Fox debates from
So
2016. Nobody
it's
got to
it's a
say anything that was
special
bullshit.
dishonest because it's like they can say any nonsense, and they're like, as long as they can get the drones in the audience to hoop and holler, then yeah, point scored.
Well, no, no. In fact, the
And that just
Fox.
doesn't play in my world. So
Yeah, in fact, the one lady from Fox was talking about
that's
that on Tucker, and she was saying, watch the first 10 minutes of our first Republican debate that we hosted back in 2015, and compare it to this one, and the moderators in that debate went after a Republican said something. They were attacking the candidate. They were making the candidates back up on their heels to challenge their positions, which was really good because the whole point of
yeah,
the debate is for us, the viewing audience,
yeah.
to say, okay, is this guy saying what he's saying true or not? And the moderators, their job, they saw it as, hey, let's challenge your position and then see if you
Well,
can
I
back it up.
disagreed with that because I don't think it was their place to assess somebody being true or not, but to assess whether they could defend their position. That
Well,
is
no.
valuable in a leader.
Well, no, I didn't mind that debate. I didn't
But
mind Megan going after Trump because you know what? Trump showed himself to be a tough guy at the end of it and came out on top. In other words, look, if you can't go toe
yeah,
to, if you
yeah,
can't
but
look,
to
if you
say
can't go
something's
to,
quote not true when it's really a matter of opinion, then it's just not a valuable question. What the question is can you back up what you're saying?
oh, I see
And
what you're
I
saying. Yeah,
challenge what you're saying. But to say it's not true when in fact when in fact the person saying it's not true can be proven to be also incorrect. It's sort of like this is ridiculous. This is battle of opinion here. I'd
right.
rather have, can you back up what you're saying? I'm going to challenge you. But the way to do it professionally would be other people might cite this as a source and say this is actually true, in other words, there's a more professional, actual journalistically professional way that they could have handled it, but didn't because they're not professionals and they're not journalists. So I digress.
You
Continue.
digress. But anyway, let's take a look. Let's take a look. No, no,
I've
you're
been
good.
exposed to too much Democrat stuff. I'm a little cynical today.
I guess. But anyway, let's take a look. See what Biden said back in 1975. There's a picture of the young Joe Biden. You should see him on your screen. There he is. And see, there he is. Senator Joseph Biden, seated in 1975, told NPR at the time that he supported a constitutional amendment to ban court ordered busing to integrate schools. So, here's the story. In 1975, one of the most divisive cultural and political issues of the time was busing, the practice of putting black and white children on buses and sending them to different schools within a school district to achieve integration. Factoring prominently into the debate against busing, however, was a young liberal 32-year-old Delaware senator by the name of Joe Biden. Asked in an interview at the time by NPR's David Ensor whether he would go so far as supporting a constitutional amendment to stop court-ordered busing, Biden was open to it. That would clearly do it, he said, adding, I'm going to go at it through a constitutional amendment if it can't be done through a piece of legislation. And the full quote was, let's see, that would clearly do it. We are trying to figure out whether or not we can come up with an innovative piece of legislation which would limit the remedy, and I don't honestly don't know whether we can come up with something constitutional. And if we can't, I will not, in an attempt to eliminate busing, violate the Constitution. I won't do that. The only way, if I'm going to go at it, I'm going to go at it through a constitutional amendment. If it can be done through if it can't be done through a piece of legislation, Biden also warned in the interview that one of the reasons many liberals were in favor of busing is that racists were against it. In other words, he was funny. He was even talking back in '75, saying, just because like somebody's against something, we have to be for it. Like Trump's against something, we have to be for it.
Right.
So it's funny. He was even bringing
Yeah.
this up back in
Yeah.
'75, and he said, "Look, I
Well,
think that
kudos to 1978. Did you say?
the '75,
Was this 1978?
5,
75. Well, kudos to 1975 Biden for having some, what will we call that? Constitutional accountability
right?"
and a bit of a backbone or principle. That's the word. You hardly hear that in politics nowadays.
And then
So,
he, and then this, and
and he's
then
right. He was right. Everything he said was actually right. Whether or not you agree with the actual issue of is busing good or not good for the kids or the community or the country isn't the issue. At that point, it's how, if it's something that you think is good, what is a remedy what is a way to remedy that without violating the Constitution so that we're not hurting the country by helping the country?
right.
Is that
Yeah, right.
the
Right. In other
proper
words,
assessment of what
right.
he's saying?
Yeah, in other words, he's saying he's in favor of integration, which makes sense,
Right.
but he's against how the remedy was fashioned to it. Well, I mean, in other words, he was like what he said. I think what he went on to say today was that look, he was in favor of like changing like redlining, like where black people couldn't live in certain neighborhoods, and he went on to say, what
Hmm.
do you say? Biden took another shot defending himself. He was speaking in Chicago before the Rainbow Push Coalition headed by Jesse Jackson. And he went on to say, I heard and I listened to and I respect Senator Harris, but we all know that 30 seconds to 60 seconds on a campaign debate exchange can't do justice to a lifetime committed to civil rights. He added, I never, ever opposed voluntary busing as a program that Senator Harris participated in, and it made a difference in her life. I did support federal action to address the root causes of segregation in our schools and our community, including taking on the banks, the banks by and redlining, but the banks not loaning money, and trying to change the way in which neighborhoods were segregated. I've always been in favor of using federal authority to overcome state-initiated segregation. Well, see, that's what he's saying here,
Hmm.
right there, was not really true. I've always, especially when he wants a constitutional amendment to stop the federal government from doing it. But he goes, I've always been in favor of using federal authority to overcome state-initiated segregation. In fact, I cast a deciding vote in 1974 against an amendment called the Gurney Amendment, which would have banned the right of federal courts to be able to use busing as a remedy. During the debate, Biden also said he was not against voluntary busing, only Department of Education mandated busing, and then the reporter wrote, it sounded like a states' rights argument similar to what had been used by those who wanted to keep segregation in place. But on Friday, Biden rejected that. These rights are not up to the states to decide. They're the federal government's duty to decide. It's a constitutional question to protect the civil rights of every single American, and that's always been my position. And then this story, NPR did a nice job in this story because they went on to talk about the Gallup poll, saying that just 5% believed, busing was the best way to do it, talking about 4% of whites and only 9%
Hmm.
of African Americans. So at least, NPR actually did a nice job on this story because they covered kind of the whole thing on it. But yeah, I mean, The
Yeah,
problem is though,
but the people that like the sound bites, the hoop-de-doos in the audience, they're not going to read that article, even if
right.
it is NPR.
Well, yeah, I mean, God, if they can
So
only scroll down a
whatever.
couple of paragraphs. I mean, gee, I mean, how long was that article I just read? I mean, it is. No, I agree. See, DA Archer writes, just gonna be lurking tonight. DA Archer just lurking tonight. DA's on he's on
Welcome
Forbidden.
to the Carl's Opinion Pajama Party.
There you go.
Drink
Yeah.
some caffeine and hang out all night until the sun comes up.
Yeah, for you guys, that's not that much longer. Shit, on the East Coast.
No, it's
But
not. We
but
already had a
yeah,
nap, so we're
but
cool.
but it's
My
but it's
cat and
hilarious.
I.
Yeah. Then it's hilarious because then here,
We
let me
had a
get.
nap.
Yeah, we all had a nap. I wonder if DA had a nap. Let's see. Oh,
Yeah.
let's see. Where's the one with Cory Booker? Let's see.
And
Uh,
that's the other thing when he brought up in this more recent this more thorough article by NPR the word voluntary, which wasn't brought up on the stage. See, and mandating things at a federal level, as I said, one size does not fit all. And what if somebody doesn't want to? There and apparently 97 93 to 96%, depending on the demographic of the parents, did not want their children to be bused. So, how far does this right get pushed into a mandate when you start having the feds enforcing it? So it's a danger. What people don't realize is the more power you give the government to control the smaller details of life, the more power they have to just take over your life. They own you at that point. It's just amazing to me how people want government to just run them. I don't get that. I don't get it.
okay, I tell you
I
what
guess
though,
I'm just
I'm gonna go
a
off on a
libertarian.
I'm gonna go off on a tangent real quick. Cause now here's a riddle for you. Now I remember this. I remember D.A. Archer from many years ago, but I do remember this man. So here's a riddle for you, Miss Effie loves America. D.A. Archer writes in the chat.
Many years?
Well, I don't know how many years ago, but anyway, it was a long time ago. It seems like a long time ago. But anyway, he writes, sun still hasn't gone down. Okay, this is D.A. Archer writing in the chat. Sun still hasn't gone down, and I'm the farthest east and west you can be in the U.S. in the United States. So, question riddle to you, Miss Effie loves America, and I am not gonna say where he lives because I know where he lives, but I'm not gonna say it because he hasn't said it. So, but can you guess based on what he just wrote?
Alaska?
I think you're wrong, but that could be
Am
right.
I wrong?
No, I'll be honest with you. Now I can't remember.
Because
When you said Alaska, now I'm thinking like, gee, maybe I'm wrong on where I thought he lived. But that is funny. He's a farthest east and
Well,
west he can
because
be.
Alaska is the only state that's also part of the eastern, is part of what's that sea over there? That other ocean, right?
The Bering Sea.
The Bering. Is it the Bering?
Yeah, where like that line
Where's
goes
Russia?
through. Yeah, the Bering Sea.
Bering Strait's there. Right.
Up he
So
goes.
yeah,
Yep,
I
yep.
remember
He's in Alaska. Yep.
seeing some documentary. Yeah, some documentary with some hoopty-hoo about how cool Alaska is because it's like in two different hemispheres at the same time. Is that
There.
correct?
He says. Yep, that's where he lives in Alaska.
Okay.
So
See, I'm good
actually,
at trivial
actually,
knowledge that will never ever win me any money.
D.A. Archer, I am mixing you up with someone else. So I do apologize. So, but anyway,
uh,
but
and thank you, DA, because Effie was right and Carl was wrong. That almost never
again,
happens.
no, actually, that's true. That almost never happens. That's a true statement. I'll give you that much. But anyway,
I know.
anyway, check. Anyway, I'm not sure.
I admit you're right a lot.
Well, I'm not right. I'm not right a lot. You're. I think we're. I know what. Here, watch. We'll do one of those leftist answers. We're both right.
Oh dear God, no,
No,
no.
like
So
everybody
yeah,
gets a
so my
everybody.
point is, I don't want to diss people in the black community for having I'm just saying from a psychological standpoint, people are now more comfortable, and not just in the black community, of course. I'm saying that's where it begins, where we're just used to this alpha female, um, lady of color as a role model, and the fact that she was seemingly angry, aggressive, and emotional and narcissistic, but let's not even dwell on that, I guess.
No, she's
People
just
are
being.
just used to that
She
and
just.
consider that to be strong behavior
Oh
and
wait.
consider it, to be something
Well.
to be, lauded, I guess.
Wait, hold on. Let me write this real quick. Hey, do you know Crazy Chick Sheena has a new name called Crazy Chick Sheena?
Oh, you shortened your name.
She shortened her name.
Hi, Sheena.
She shortened her name. But
Hey, I get more than a trophy. I won, DA. I guessed correctly.
Right,
Can
we
you
both get
see
a
Russia
trophy.
from your house, too?
He probably can. Hey, when Russia wants to invade, I know. God, that just. Uh, well, there was a reason why that was probably one of the reasons why I voted for President Obama in 2008 was that McCain wanted to go to first reason McCain wanted to go to war in Iran, okay, and Russia because remember we were talking about the civil war in Azerbaijan, and he said we're all Georgians. Remember that? And I'm like, oh shit, this guy's going to
Mm,
do a land war in Russia. And then, of course, Iran. He was definitely going to war in Iran. No doubt, he was going to war in Iran. I'm
mhm,
like, no, we're not doing
mhm.
that. But the second reason was her. I figured this guy's old. He could die, and then we're gonna have a real idiot in the White House. I mean, the woman was just an idiot. I mean, I'm sorry. Um, God, I can't remember her name. What the fuck? What the hell was it? Jesus, did I blank it out of my memory
Her
already?
name was Sarah Palin, but she didn't
Sa-
actually say she could see Russia from her yard. That was a misquote. I actually went back and read the whole
no, I
context
know.
of what she said, and
No,
it wasn't even her that said it. It was the reporter that said it. And then what the reporter said was, you can see Russia from some parts of Alaska, and she nodded yes, something to that effect. So that was
no, I
actually
no.
what was said.
No. I remember what she said though. She said something like, "When when the Russians, send their planes over us, and they're going to attack us. Where do you think they
Yeah,
come
she was
through?"
saying it in the context that she had the closest, because of her proximity to Russia, she had more of a direct interest in what do you call it,
Well, she was trying to count.
diplomacy with Russia, which was
Right.
a stupid point, I grant you.
Yeah.
But she did not say, I can see Russia from my yard. She didn't say that.
No, I know she didn't say that,
That
but
was not what she
right, that was Saturday Night Live said that. Right, I totally agree. But what
right.
she was trying
But
to say,
I only say that because people swear to me to this day that she said that, and I'm like, oh please, don't talk to me about politics because you're stupid.
right.
So yeah,
No,
I'm sorry, I'm
she was
in a
trying,
cynical mood, like I said.
yeah, she was trying to say she had foreign policy experience, and I mean the woman didn't have any
Yes, based
foreign
on
policy.
proximity, which was
Yeah,
stupid. Yes,
right.
you're right.
I mean, she
Absolutely
didn't know
stupid.
anything about anything when it came to foreign policy. I mean, it was just really sad. In fact, on one of the I watched one of the debates during that time because, I'm trying to say, I really wanted to vote the Republican ticket, so I'm doing a lot of research to try to convince myself to do this because I'm like, this woman's an idiot. I go, okay, maybe she's not that stupid. So I really researched her pretty heavy, and I went back and looked at some of the debates when she was running for governor, and man, if I didn't think she was stupid at first, when I went back and watched those debates, and her opponents were calling her out on it, like the one guy's like, "Look, she doesn't know anything. Look at her. She's sitting right there. You ask her anything. She doesn't know. She's making stuff up." The one guy running against her in the primary, another Republican. He's like, "No, don't vote for her. She's stupid." Basically, he's like yelling at the audience, and he can't convince anybody. I feel bad for the guy, and I'm like, "Oh my God, no, she really is stupid." And she was just making these outlandish claims and just saying dumb things. And this was in the debate, to get the Republican primary, nominee for governor. And I'm like, oh, jeez. But anyway, Archer wrote a good. I did not know this. Yeah, Archer writes, Obama gave back 3 of the islands way out there on the chain, gave them back to Russia. Not too many people know about that.
Interesting.
Now, can you imagine if Trump did that?
Yeah, no, I didn't know
Oh,
that.
I didn't know that, but you imagine if Trump did that, he gave back Putin. Hey, Putin, I'll give you some islands. Oh no, Trump isn't really a Russian agent. Oh no, you know. Yeah, Archer. Yeah, she was a ditz. I mean, she was
Oh,
one
that's
heart.
interesting.
Yeah, Archer. She was one heartbeat away from the presidency. I'm swear, man, we would have all been. I don't think we'd be having this show right now. we we wouldn't be here right now. I mean, she would have done something
Okay,
stupid.
so another a trivia question.
Hmm.
In 1867, when Seward purchased Alaska from Russia, how much did we pay per acre?
Oh God. Uh, 10 cents.
And the answer is roughly, approximately
How
per
much?
acre.
I say 10 cents.
Should we wait for EA to
Yeah,
answer?
yeah. Let's see if Da. Let's see if Da knows. Da
They
knows.
probably know that. He probably knows, or she. I don't know if DA's identifies as male or female. Is that the proper terminology nowadays?
Oh well, he actually said also Obama gave some land back to Canada as well. He has a friend that is having all kinds of issues with that. Like suddenly his friend's like living in Canada, I guess.
Wow.
Yeah, now his friend's a
Yeah,
Canadian.
because Obama was never reported on as president. He did all kinds of nonsense that nobody talked about because the press were all, covering for him and crap.
Oh, Da Archer says
It's
he
all, hey,
thinks
Obama's doing a thing. We're not talking about it.
right. No, Da
No,
Archer says
it
he
was
think
2 cents.
two
Two
cents.
cents.
Well, I think he meant to write. I think
Two
he meant to
cents per
type.
acre.
He probably meant to type two, and he hit the 7 key by mistake.
Hey, what is this? This is drag Effie down day, I guess. Hey, all right. I've been right too much tonight, and you just can't have that. I can see what's going on here. You
No,
can't you
no,
can't handle
no.
a strong alpha woman.
There is. I can't handle the strong alpha. Not unless I pick you to win the nomination for
Okay, I'm going to
president.
say something else unpopular, but I have a right to say this one because I am a woman.
Okay, hold on. Let me get rid
I
of the
do
mute.
not want a
Hold on,
woman
hold on,
president.
hold on. Let me get
I
ready to hit
don't.
the. Let me get ready to
Yeah.
hit the mute button. No, go ahead. What are you saying? Go ahead.
You're gonna put the zombie on? Come
So,
on, be
I
brave.
be brave. Okay, you don't want. Oh, you don't want a woman president.
I don't want a woman president. I don't want a woman president so much, Carl, and you know this because I've said this before. I am willing to give up my vote if it means eliminating all the other women's votes that would make a woman president happen in this country. That's how much I don't want a woman president.
Well, actually, you got to remember some like Trump got 54% of the white women vote last time. Probably got a
Oh,
decent
I
amount
know.
of. It probably
I
got a
know.
decent amount of the Hispanic
But
women
I
vote.
still I
Yeah.
still blame women for the a lot of the leftist kind of thinking, like this stuff that was going on stage last night, the emotionalism and the it's all about me and my personal anecdote rather than what the majority of Americans were saying and about what the Constitution says. No, it's about my little story, and I'm going to have an emotion, and I'm going to make it about me, and then I'm going to yell and stomp my feet, make a mean face, so that you
Right.
think I'm a powerful woman. That kind of crap. That doesn't.
Doesn't do it
To
for you.
me, that's just repulsive. That's repulsive. That is not a way to run a country. So, no, boot them
Well,
out. And
well, I mean,
also, I don't.
wait,
Well,
wait, hold it,
the
wait,
real
hold it,
reality is,
hold it. Just remember who we voted for in 2016 and who we love. This guy, look, I love this guy, Donald Trump, but he's the most obnoxious guy in the world. But that's
I didn't
part.
vote for him, Carl.
Oh, you
Did you
didn't.
forget? I
Oh,
didn't
that's.
vote for him.
Oh, well, you should wait. Let me hit the
I
mute
didn't
button.
like his antics either.
Well, I like his
I
antics.
didn't vote for president for the first time since I've been voting. I didn't vote for a presidential candidate in the 2016.
Well, anyway, he's a
I
great
voted
guy,
in all
and
the other ones. No.
well, he's a great guy. I know you've learned to love him, and he's I part of what I like. I mean,
I am voting for him for provided he or I don't kick the bucket before the next election. I am voting for him based on policy, though, not based on personality. But
oh,
yeah,
well, I'm
based
voting.
on him versus any Democrat at this point.
I'm voting
Yeah.
for him based on policy, and part of the way he enacts his policy is through his personality.
Of course, he's got it. But that was going to be. Thank you. That's a perfect lead in. My second point. The
Oh my
world
God, here we go.
is not okay with the world's not okay with a woman being president for that reason. She couldn't get away with the dealing. Well, the truth and the reality is that a lot of, especially the people that we have to be tough with, are not going to respect a woman like they're going to respect him. So it's
Okay.
not even so much as if I think a woman is strong and intelligent and able and all that. It's whether the enemies of this nation do, and they don't. So I think that's a true
Well,
statement.
I think what would
It's
happen.
unfair,
I think
but
what
it's
would
true.
happen. I think what would happen. Here, wait. Let me read Archer's thing real quick here. Oh, his friends in the U.S. military. Now his place of birth is in Canada. Oh, so we know he's got a bunch of issues with paperwork and stuff. Okay, that makes sense. Oh, yeah, that
Oh,
sucks.
that sucks.
Yeah, but I think a woman president would have the same problem, and it would be just as scary as George H.W. Bush. Remember, and I know you remember this. Remember in 1988, he's a wimp. He's this. He's that. You know, all these terrible things they were saying about him, and then like he kind of like had that chip on his shoulder. He had to prove how tough he was. Now going into Iraq, okay, we had to, well, we kind of had to do that. Okay, stop Saddam Hussein when he invaded Kuwait. Albeit it's not sure if the State Department didn't give Saddam Hussein permission to do that ahead of time, but whatever. But the thing in Panama, that was pure like that was his first little foray. That's where he's like, I'm a man. I'm not a
Mm.
wimp anymore. In fact, even one of his friends in the Senate, I can't remember the guy's name, was saying, somebody said, "Well, is he still a wimp?" He goes, "Well, I think he put that to bed. Oh, by killing people. Now we can say like he had to prove he was a tough guy because he was kind of a wimpy guy. Remember George
Mm-hmm.
H.W. Bush, very wimpy kind of, very wimpy guy. I remember him in the campaign trail in 1980. He was like, he just kind of was disgusting me. You know,
He's like the old school frat boys, like the ones that played football with the leather head helmet rather than
right,
the.
right, exactly.
That's what he reminds me of. Those old sepia tone pictures with the old football with the funny poses, or the boxers with the weird positions, the big handlebar mustache. I know
Right.
he's not that old, but that's what he reminds me
Yeah.
of.
So a woman might
It's
have
just a
a
it's
woman might
just
have the
an
same
old school
problem.
frat boy, so not really a strong person because he had the institution around him his whole life. He had the other frat boys and the golden spoon,
Right.
kind of
So
thing.
so
That's
he would
that's the way I see him,
right.
and his son.
Yeah, he'd have to, so a woman might have to
I'm
prove that a woman might have to prove she's tough also by going out and blowing something up, and
Well,
that part's scary.
that's a possibility. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I could see that.
Yeah.
I
But
could see that, but but that's what I see on display with Miss Harris and any other woman who's doing things like. In other words, women can be strong without acting like men, but I don't know if that kind of strength works in those kinds of positions.
well,
You know what
again,
I'm
I
saying?
see it I just see it as a
Maybe, but
I see I
it would be a different way to go about doing it.
I see it kind of like just from a trial attorney kind of thing. It's like, she smelled blood in the
Sure, sure.
water. She smelled, we get called
Hmm.
sharks for a reason. She smelled blood in the water. With that whole anti-busting thing. She had her own personal story to tell about it. It dovetailed really
Hmm.
nicely,
Yeah, yeah.
and he was caught flat-footed. He didn't know what to do or what to say. He was embarrassed because here he is. He just like I brought up that one speech he gave back in March saying white man's culture is bad and all this stuff, and he hates himself and he hates white people. And then here he's on stage and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
he's being called out by a black woman for being a bad white guy. Now what's he supposed to say now? He just said he was a bad white
Right.
guy three
Right,
you
but
know
he's
3 months
put
ago.
himself into a position of
Right,
being unsound. He's not on sure footing anymore.
right.
Plus, he's no longer an able speaker. He never was a great speaker, to be honest.
Mm.
He always had flubbed his words, but now he's
Well,
an old guy, so he's
well,
much worse at that.
actually,
And
I
so,
was told he had a stuttering problem in that he overcame it when he was younger,
uh-huh. Mhm.
which
Mhm.
could be which
That's
could
interesting.
yeah, which actually could mean that he could potentially fall back into that. So when he speaks, he always has to be very careful. If you ever dealt with a stutterer before, you know what I'm talking about. Like, here's
Well,
as a
I
quick.
actually had to stutter. I actually had to stutter myself.
Oh, what,
And
what,
I I
what, what,
I
what,
deal with
what,
it
what,
myself. I
what?
had a
I'm
stutter.
making a joke.
I did, and I also had an inability to pronounce the letter L, which sometimes still affects my speech. So that
Oh,
caused, I think, the stutter. In fact, because I was trying to pronounce the letter L,
okay.
and yeah,
Oh, you want to hear a
yeah,
funny story real quick
it's
about
a weird
that?
thing.
You want to hear a funny story about
Hmm.
stuttering? Anyway, so I have to take this guy's deposition, and it's in what was it? This one I think this one was in Washington D.C. So I had to go all the way out to D.C. to take this guy's deposition, and everybody, and I was going against three different law firms on this, right? Here's little Carl, solo practitioner, against these three big law firms, and everybody knew this guy was a stutterer, but nobody told me. So, because so anyway, I'm talking to this guy on the hallway, and he's just talking normally, like because it's a very relaxed setting, and he knows how to use his air breathing and stuff. So we get into the room, and it's just me, the deponent, this guy, the stutterer, and his attorney. And the other two attorneys are back in Las Vegas, doing it on the phone, so they didn't have to fly all the way out. So I start the deposition, and as soon as I start it, this guy just starts stuttering big time, and I'm doing everything wrong with the stutter. I'm like finishing his sentences and trying to, you know what I'm saying. And I know the two guys back in Vegas, they got the phone on mute, and they're just laughing their asses off. And the attorney sitting there, he can't laugh because he's sitting right there because they know not they're not they weren't laughing because the guy was stuttering. They're laughing because they knew I didn't know ahead of time, and I'm struggling. It took 3 hours. And it was just going to be a short depo. It took 3 hours to get past this like little, which could have been 45-minute deposition. It took me 3 hours to get to the end of it, and I stayed with it the whole time. But trust me, it wasn't any fun. And sure enough, when I got back to Vegas and I was talking to the two other guys, they go, "Oh yeah, we were laughing our asses off. We were like, jogger." Literally 3 hours to get through a
Which is
45-minute depo.
this is why I like guys, because with the two other attorneys, they were dudes, right?
Yep. Oh yeah, definitely.
And they were essentially setting you up professionally in a professional environment. Now, if they had done that to a woman attorney, even if she was a strong prosecutor like Miss Harris,
Uh-huh.
do you think that would have been funny and everybody had a good story and had a beer later?
No, they would have never admitted they knew that ahead of time. They would have never admitted that. They would have said, "Oh, we didn't know."
Sure,
Yeah, but with me,
sure.
they're like, Carl, yeah, that was funny. We were cracking up.
Can we just stop pretending that men and women are the same and that that dynamic is, the same? Because it's not. And that's even in our culture where we do respect each other. We respect, and women can achieve. I'm not saying that means women are being held back by their gender. I'm just saying it is different. The dynamic is different. And then that's in our culture. Now, when you extrapolate that out to, let's say, Iran, I don't want a President Harris dealing with Iran. I just don't.
Well, they'd probably have a hard time with
because
that.
of Iran, not because of President Harris. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Because of them.
Yeah, I mean, she'd have a hard
Because of
time.
their perspective.
Yeah, she'd have a hard time going over there because they immediately would have no respect for her because she's a woman. That's the problem. So she'd
That's
have to
what
have
I'm
it.
saying.
Yeah, she'd have a
And
chip.
therefore, by extension, no respect for us.
Right, and then she'd have a chip
And
on
I
her
have
shoulder.
unlike you, I made a baby. I have a kid in this world. so you were saying you didn't make babies. I'm like, the most
Right.
American thing most patriotic thing we can do today is make American babies. But that's a whole other subject.
Oh, that's a whole nother
Make
subject,
American
right?
babies.
Oh, by the way, check
Yeah,
this out.
I don't care what color they are, as long as they're American babies. That's the important thing.
I agree with the
So,
American baby thing. Oh wait, check this out. So anyway, Biden, this is great. Biden's still out of touch with the Democratic constituency. I'll put this story. You saw the story. Booker bashes Biden for a hoodie remark. So Biden just jumped into this with both feet. He says, "Well, I only had one shovel last night. I'm going to pull out the other one today and use two shovels." So anyway, check this out real quick. This is funny.
poor Biden.
Oh God! So a
Aw.
day after
It's
California.
sad. It's just sad.
Well, he's old, and he
He's old. That's why it's sad. I want to protect him because he's old. I have
right.
this thing about older people. I want to protect them. I'm just like, aw. So that's my mom thing, I guess. I just like, oh, grandpa. Aw.
So anyway, this is
I
what
don't have a
Biden.
grandpa anymore.
No, neither do I. But this
Well,
is what
I
Biden.
wouldn't want him. I mean, he's kind of creepy, but I digress. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, he'd be grabbing your shoulders and stuff and smelling your hair, like, oh, my
Yeah, no.
granddaughter.
He can't come in my house. No.
No, not allowed in. But anyway, this is what Biden said in an attempt to ease concerns that he's not a racist. I'm not a racist, and so he said this is what he says.
I'm
I
not
love
a
this.
racist.
I'm not a racist. So he says this. I don't know who the hell does he even run these speeches by anybody first. But anyway, he says this. He goes, "We've got to recognize that kid wearing a hoodie may very well be the next poet laureate and not a gangbanger." Biden told the crowd. I mean, oh my God! Like you idiot! It's like right away. Oh, anybody wearing a hoodie is a black guy,
And
and any black guy in a hoodie could be a gangbanger. And no, could
there's a
also be
gangbang. Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah,
Then
yeah.
you tie that in what he said. Remember what he said about Obama back in '08? He's so clean. He's so articulate. You know what I mean, man?
Well, yeah. He's
Yeah,
trying to say something nice, and he just sounds so out of touch, and that's
yeah.
what,
So anyway, so then Booker.
that is an age thing. I'm not being ageist. It's because I'm getting older too, but it's just an age thing, and the fact that the language keeps changing. Also, what's permissible? What my grandmother said is not permissible today, but it was then. The NAACP is called the NAACP, but you
Right.
can't go around saying, CP. That's not cool. You don't do that now because the
Right.
language changes and how people relate to each other changes, and you try to keep up out of respect. But when you're old and tired and a little windy between the ears after a while, it's hard to keep up with what the kids are saying is cool nowadays. So there's that part of it, the equation.
Yeah. So anyway, so
But
then
honestly, I
yeah.
think Democrats are a little racist too. So there's that.
Yeah, I think that's where they kind of come from. So we kind of stuck in that time zone, the time warp. But
It starts in that. It starts with that base. Yeah.
yeah. But Booker,
Yeah.
as soon as Booker's team heard that, Booker quick jumped on it and sent out a tweet saying, so Booker's like, this isn't about a hoodie. It's about a culture that sees a problem with a kid wearing a hoodie in the first place. Our nominee needs to have the language. You were just saying that needs to have the language to talk about race in a far more constructive way. And it's like Biden's like, oh wait, like it's and actually I ran a story on this about a month ago, how the Biden campaign was like somewhat dysfunctional because Biden wasn't listening to his staff, and Biden didn't sign up a lot of
Uh,
old time staff people. He hired two people from Obama's team, but they were like young people. They weren't like on the top tier.
sure.
They weren't running shit. He just grabbed this one girl. I can't remember her name. I got the story somewhere, and then he also hired this lady from Sanders' campaign, I think, too. But anyway, they weren't like the
Well, the
top tier.
important question is, Carl, did their hair smell nice?
Well,
Because that's probably why he chose.
possibly, and maybe he's like, oh, let's
Okay.
see, I'll give you a job as long as I can
You
sniff
gotta
your
know.
hair.
You gotta know what's important, Carl. That's what's important.
Yeah. Well, anyway, the story from a month ago that I covered was that the staff he wasn't listening to his staff. He had nobody that could tell him no. That like since he ran two failed campaigns in '88 and 2008, he thought he knows how to like run a campaign, and so he goes. So he
He
wanted.
had nobody that could tell him no.
Well, not now. Now he
Nobody that
doesn't.
he would listen to.
Right. He
Okay.
doesn't he
Okay.
doesn't have anybody inside his campaign that he respects enough to tell him how to run a campaign. See, like when Obama ran,
Okay.
when Obama ran in '08, he had Axelrod, Plus, Pluff, and Gibbs. And those guys obviously geniuses at running a campaign, but he listened to those guys, and they ran a great
Mm-hmm.
campaign. Now, let's be honest, they destroyed the Clinton machine, and then they went on to win. So, but the difference was Obama actually listened to them. Well, this guy Biden, he doesn't listen to anybody
Mm-hmm.
because he knows better than everybody. Now Trump's the same way, but Trump's smart, and Trump was able to win. This guy, his two last campaigns were
Mm-hmm.
shit. '88 and 2008 were both shit,
Yeah.
and they did say there was kind of an air of entitlement about him
Mm-hmm.
also that he thought, well, I should be the nominee, kind of like a Hillary Clinton problem. So him,
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee
Mm-hmm.
you,
I can see that.
I guarantee you, he didn't run this line past the two top people in his campaign. Or if he did, they said, no, don't do that. He goes, oh, I got this.
Absolutely.
I'll fix this. Just watch. And then he puts that line out there, and Booker just jumps on it. I mean, it was like, and
Yeah.
the one
Well,
guy,
but see, this is the cynical part of me, but it's the modern mindset, especially of the leftists, that sincerity doesn't work. Even if he's being sincere and genuinely trying to help, they hate that crap. And it's all about the external virtue signaling, et cetera, using the proper words. Doesn't matter what's in your heart and what you really mean, because they're going to tell you what's in your heart. They're going to assign your meaning, and they're going to tell you you're a racist, even if you, in his opinion, in Mr. Biden's opinion, fought your whole life for, equality. They're going to stand up and in their opinion, sincerely say he's a racist because that's the kind of world we live in now. So,
and even
and I
yeah.
see Kamala Harris as one of the ugliest versions of that kind of mindset. So,
Well,
you know,
she's got to
but
make her mark. She's got to
what you
get
gonna do?
she's got to jump. She look, and I said this a month ago. Like, everybody's saying, "Oh, we're all going to get along." I said, "Look, these people are not running for 2024 or 2028. These people are running for
Yeah,
to
yeah.
win now."
Well,
And
keep in mind, I had ugly things to say about the Republican clown show in 2016. So I'm not saying anything, you know, worse about the Democrats than I was saying about them.
right,
Just that, this is who we are dealing with now. As as far as primary, there's no going to be any primary in the Republican side. So anyway, but I think maybe what I'm speaking to is more of the culture. Just people say, oh yeah, things were rough back in the day, blah blah blah. But I don't know. Is was sincere? Was someone honestly wanting to help never something that was respected or sincerity? I mean, even if someone is sincerely wrong, but if you're attributing, you know, horrible, devious, what am I trying to say? Opinions that they don't actually have. When somebody's trying to help but they're just out of touch, does that make them a bad person? So that's why I feel somewhat protective of Biden, even though, of course, I wouldn't vote for him for $1 million. But just my point.
right.
It's like the uglier people are, the more points they score, and that's the other thing. I don't know that Trump is this freaking genius. Yeah, he doesn't listen to people, and he still ends up on top in a lot of situations. But I think he's more like a cat that lands on his feet. It's just he's structured that way. It's just his combination of personality, the time and the place, his access to social media that wouldn't have happened 20 years ago, et cetera. It's just a combination of things that puts that particular person with that skill set and that personality with the available technology and today's political climate, and you've got lightning in a bottle. That doesn't make him a genius. It makes him somebody who's able to take advantage of a combination of things in this moment so that he does land on his feet like a cat every time, or
Right.
mostly every time.
Well,
so,
yeah,
so I'm not Trump is playing 4D chess, but at times it does seem like it, but I think it's just that he's the right fit for the glove right now. That's all.
well, okay. You go back to I'm a political science dude, so you go back to Machiavelli talking about
Sure.
what definition of a prince and talking about certain people that were
Mm-hmm.
princes, like you brought up Moses, and one of the things he said a prince has to have is fortune, which is different than luck. Fortune meaning you have to be in the one of the things you have to have in your favor is that you have to your personality, who you have to be in the right place at the right time. Like say Trump came around 20 years ago. Okay, not the right place at the right time. 20 years from now, not right place at the right time.
Exactly.
So right now,
Yep.
right here, especially coming
Lightning in a
after
bottle.
coming right after the no drama Obama, and everybody giving him a pass and everything nice and easy, quiet. We're all poor, and we're all unemployed, and the economy
Mm-hmm.
sucks. But everything's nice and
And
quiet,
we better get used to it because it's the
right?
new normal, and
Exactly. And
nobody's
then
going to listen to your complaints because you're a stupid Bible clinging, gun toting American.
right. It's same thing with
Yeah.
Obama in 2008. The whole war in Iraq, that debacle, and then McCain wanting to expand the war in the Middle East to go into Syria, to go into
Oh yeah.
Iran, and then here comes Obama, right
Yeah.
man at the right time, saying, "Whoa!" And the American public like, "Yeah, this sounds fucked up," and even people like
Yeah.
me, diehard Republicans, lifelong Republicans, saying, "Yeah." Fuck that. We're not. I'm not sending. I'm not going to sit back and watch on the news and watch another 10, 12, 15,000 young Americans die because this guy wants to pretend like he wasn't a coward in Vietnam, okay, to prove his manhood. I'm sorry, that's not going to happen,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm sure she's not going to sit back and watch while this guy puts into a land war in Russia because he wants to support some little freaking former republic of the Soviet Union known as Georgia versus the Azerbaijanis who are siding with the Russians to get some land to run a pipeline through the Black Sea onto, who gives a fuck, okay? So again, Obama comes right in
Yeah,
and says, "We're
why
not
is that
doing
our
that."
problem again? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, it was. Well, I was going to make sure with
Yeah.
my vote in my support, it wasn't going to be. So, and it wasn't, and it hasn't
Yeah.
been, and
No.
now, and then Trump again is almost it's crazy. Trump's here right now, and all the neocons, both on the left and the right, are saying war with Iran, go to war. And there's the thing
Yeah.
about Trump's personality. Again, this is what comes about his personality is that he doesn't kowtow to guys who are smarter than like guys who know more than he does. You know what I'm saying? Like the experts, the foreign policy
Sure.
experts, guys who've been doing this their whole life. You know, the State Department
Mhm.
guys, Bolton and Pompeo and those guys. He goes, no, he goes, yeah, you guys think you're the experts. Fuck you. I know more than all of you combined. You're idiots. No, we're not going to war. Then he lies. He lies and he goes out and says, oh, I'm sure them shooting down our drone was just a mistake. Probably some rogue general or something, right? And then the Iranians hear
Yeah.
that and they
Yeah.
go,
Yeah.
right? And the Iranians hear that and they go, oh shit, man, he just gave us a way out. And they go, yeah, it was a rogue general, and
Yeah.
they make it public. They just reprimanded this
Yeah.
general who
That
launched the
was
missile.
what. Yeah.
I mean, that took some balls
I'm
on Trump's
sure
part,
it was a mistake.
right?
I wish I could do the Trump voice better, but I'm too much of a woman to do it. But it's just so funny. It's just so funny to me. Yeah, he's running it. He's running the country like you would run a huge conglomerate, a corporation. He's like, yeah, I think what you meant to say was.
Right,
You're like, yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
It
that's
was,
what we meant to say. That was it. That was right. You're right.
you know
But
what
he
kind of,
understands as a business, an international businessman, the rules of that, engaging with international people, which involves their culture, which is like saving face and how they have to look to their, the people that they have to look good to in order to feel like they don't lose their standing, but yet can get along with us in such a way that's mutually beneficial, at least in their opinion. So
right?
he understands that give and take and that strength and being kind and being strong and he is smart in that way. I think you might even say a genius in that way. So I'm not trying to discredit him by saying he's just nearly the right place at the right time. He's the right person with the right set of skills in the right time as well. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean
And
that
I
took a
can
lot of
appreciate him on that level.
that took a lot of balls for him to go out
Sure.
and lie and potentially be called a weak guy
Yes.
and all this stuff. And he didn't even care. He's like,
All
you
this
want to call
stuff
me
that,
weak?
yes.
I don't give a
Yes.
shit. Call me weak. Fuck you. We're not going to war tomorrow, and a bunch of kids aren't going to die. So tough shit on you.
Yes.
And I mean
Yeah.
that's why
Yeah.
that's another reason why I admire the
And
guy
they
so
have
much.
people in both parties out for his blood all the time.
Oh
He
yeah,
doesn't give a rat's ass, and that's a
right.
wonderful quality, in a leader. But also in a strategist. His strategy is more important. And he said he kind of let it slip. He said something like, it'll be, basically said something to the effect of one day it'll be told. And I was thinking that before he said it. I was thinking there's going to be a book one day and it's going to have a whole lot of interesting inside stories about these things, and this was the plan. And this is what we said. This is what because he knows the press is out to get him. He
Oh
knows
yeah.
that, 90% of the politicians, even in his own party, are out to get him. So he does things strategically. He and his team, his inside insiders, which are mostly his family.
Hey Effie,
You know,
Effie.
honestly, we're on. Yeah,
Hey, if I lose you, shit. Damn it. All right, if you were listening on the YouTube, my phone for some reason wanted to do a restart, update Android device thing, and anyway, I'll call you. I'm going to call you right back because my phone uh, just did a system update on me. So it was probably those no good Google people installing a system update. I'm watching as it happened. I'm like, no. Hold on, let me write. I'm going to write to you real quick. Anyway, while we got hacked, I totally agree. So while we wait for while we wait for the phone to come back up, yeah, while we wait for the phone to come back up, I'll go on and cover the next story. It's like I saw it, I'm like, no, no, and shit. And it kept asking me to do it today, and all day today I needed my phone, so I kept saying no, and then finally I guess it decided, fuck you, Carl, we're just gonna update your phone for you. So anyway, so let me let me cover the next story here. Talking about this, and this will be a good topic to cover as soon as I get Effie back on the phone. Sorry about that, guys. But this one here, Byron York from the Washington Examiner, he writes, in debates, Democrats have moved toward open borders. So let's check this one out. All right, it's from today, and so here we go. Let's see the show of let's see, here we go. There we go. On the second night of the Democratic presidential debate in Miami, NBC moderators, this was crazy. I know all of you have seen this, whether you watched the debate or you saw the clips of it. I know all of you have seen this when I think it was Savannah Guthrie asked the people on stage, the candidates, how many of you would support decriminalizing the act of illegally crossing the border, just turn into like a civil thing. Like I guess you get like a civil fine or a civil penalty or civil something that you never pay anyway, like a parking ticket. Here goes the phone. That's a click. Let me see. So the phone is now rebooting, and I just turned the phone off so you guys won't have to listen to it as it reboots. So anyway, but anyway, so see, that so she asked them, hey, who agrees with this, and they all of them like raise their hands. And so anyway, so here we go. So raise your hand if you think it should be a civil offense rather than a crime to cross the border without documentation, said NBC's Jose Diaz Balart. All 10 candidates, Biden, Sanders, Buttigieg, Harris, Gillibrand, Bennett, Swalwell, Hickenlooper, Yang, Williamson, raised their hands in approval. That moment was perhaps the Democratic Party's most significant step yet toward embracing a policy of open borders. Meaning that if you say it's not illegal, yeah, no kidding. If you say it's not illegal to cross the border, I was saying this at the very beginning. Gallup did a poll of South America, and and they asked if you could just come to America right now without worrying about border patrol or ICE or committing a crime. How many of you would want to come to the United States? And it was like 147 million people were said, yeah, if we could just we would get there. We would find a way to get to the border, and if we could just cross without any kind of consequences, yeah, literally 147 million people in South America said they'd go tomorrow. Well, we're 330 million people. I mean, we could just take, increase our population by 50%. And then, of course, the next question they asked, like, does your policy for health care coverage cover illegal immigrants? Well, they used the word undocumented workers or undocumented people. Well, they all said yes. So basically, you can allow another like 150, 200 million people are coming all the way across from Africa right now to get here. You say anybody wants to come in, and we'll pay for your health care coverage and give you free shit on top of that because of course that means you'll give them Section 8 housing, you'll give them EBT cards, you got to give them food, shelter, housing, clothing, etc., all that stuff. So basically, you just want to undo the United States, which is really their main policy. You guys like Biden and everybody, they hate America. They hate, Biden's speech I showed earlier, where he hates European culture, white culture, European culture. It's evil. He just wants to undo it. Figure, well, we just repopulate the United States with all this, wealth created by the European people, then these people can come over, take it over, and they'll make it a better place. Well, they'll probably turn it into they'll make this country look like they'll make this country look like the countries they just came from. And then so it'll look great for like the first like say 10 years, because all this stuff was built up and everything ready to go, and all they really, and then they'll eventually just run this place into the ground. And then 10 years from now, it'll look like South America, Central America, Africa, Southeast Asia, wherever they came from, it's going to look just like that. And that's pretty much what they want to do. They think we're evil. We destroyed the world. We did horrible things. Forget the fact that Europeans, wherever they went, they made civilizations out of wildernesses. Forget that. Forget the fact that we've ended poverty, starvation, all kinds of stuff all around the world. Created this great free market, style of democracy, free market capitalism with combined with the republic form of government, democracy, if you will, and created this great system of checks and balances and safety and security at the same time having rights and rights for the individuals in the country. Forget all that. That was easy. Oh, we could have done that. It's like when I've won cases in court, and somebody will be watching and they say, "Oh, I could have done that." Well, no, you couldn't have done it because you didn't do it. I did it. Shut up. It's like, "Oh, you could do that." So you would like people talk about Amazon. I love this when they say, like Jeff Bezos, what he did, how he created Amazon, and how it just functions well. You can, I mean, anybody who uses Amazon will tell you. I live in a rural community, so I have to use Amazon for everything. And I do, and I like using Amazon. And I know the guys that left is tough shit. I don't care. You want to tell you what? You come to my house, drive down an hour and a half each way to go buy stuff for me, and then bring it back to me, and then I'll stop using Amazon. Until then, shut up. But anyway, everybody says like with Jeff Bezos, oh, I could have done that. Oh, I could have done. I could have created Amazon. No, you couldn't have because you didn't do it. He did it. Okay. So same thing with Europeans. We went around the world, created all these civilizations, created all this technology, all this great wealth. Um, Nobody else did it, and so now we're going to let all these other people in from the rest of the world come here, where countries where they look like shit, and turn this country into shit, and that'll make the world a better place. No, the whole world will be starving, 10 years from now, because there won't be the great big U.S. of A. to come and help them and bail them out and send food and money and everything else. So anyway, I mean, let's see if I get, let's see if I get. Okay. Evie, I'm going to give you a call back. Let's see. Is that it? Done. There we go. I'll take the ringer off of you guys. Effie, is that you?
Jesse, is this Mr. Carl?
This is Mr. Carl. You're on air. No,
Mr. Carl.
yeah, all day long the damn phone's been telling me, "Do you want to update? Continue? Yes, no." And I've been hitting no, 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 and I guess finally you figured, well, tough shit. We're just gonna update. And all of a sudden I look and I see the thing going, and I'm like, no. And I quick said to you, "Hey, if I lose," and all of a sudden it went zip. If I lose you, don't.
Yeah, that's. I heard that you were saying, "Hey, if I lose you," and that's the last thing I heard.
But hey, did you see the story I was just covering
There.
on immigration? What was the debate?
Yes. Yeah.
Crazy,
Yes,
huh?
I did. I Yeah, I did, and it is sad, and it's sad that the last thing that I heard you say, which was that open. Yeah, the consensus is they've pushed all the way to the Democrats have gone so far left now that they're just I can't even I can't have an analogy that's crazier than they are. I can't even make fun of them anymore. It's too funny. But it's sad because open borders plus free health care equals a world crisis, because it will destroy this country, which will then destroy the rest of the world by extension. So that's it. Maybe we are in the end times, and this is how it will happen. It's much too much like the final days of ancient Rome. Rome was destroyed from within before the barbarians took over, and it was their own stupid mistakes. But anyway, I don't know. Maybe I'm bringing everybody down. So.
Wait, what's the song? Don't bring me down. No. There's a better song than that. It's like, don't bring me
Dear
down.
God.
I don't know. Something like that. But no, I mean,
That's the Electric Light Orchestra. I do like the Electric Light Orchestra. So,
yeah, actually, oh yeah, I have that as one of my it's on my phone, as a matter of fact. It's on my Google Play
yeah.
Music. It's one of the albums I have on it. Is
Right.
the best of.
So,
Yeah.
the yellow, my son likes the Electric Light Orchestra. So, what am I trying to say? So the question Is back to what we were saying. People on stage saying dumb things that aren't true, but because they're saying it in a forceful, aggressive way, and and appealing emotionally, and they get the yay from the stupid people in the crowd. So the question is, are more people going to fall for the pie in the sky things that don't work? Can't have open borders plus free everything, and still have a country in 10 years, like you're saying. But are there enough people that are so divorced from reality that they don't care and will
Well,
vote that way?
I
And
don't
that's,
know. I'll tell you
is the
why.
tipping point, has it been reached?
I don't know why.
No.
I'm not sure. I don't know because when I woke up from my nap, I think Tucker was on or Sean Hannity was on, but the Bongino was covering Hannity tonight. And but one of them
Mm-hmm.
was showing the Morning Joe how pissed off he was. He goes, "Oh, okay. So no, if you're cross illegally, you're not illegal anymore, and we're going to give you free medical care." And he goes, "They just lost Wisconsin. Democrats just lost Michigan. Pennsylvania." He goes, "They just Florida." He goes because Joe knows Florida really well. He knows that whole state because he's a
Mm-hmm.
congressman from there. And he's
Mm-hmm.
like, "Well, that's gone." He goes, "Are these people crazy?" And he was pissed. I mean, I only saw a blurb of it from his morning show this morning with him and Mika, but he wasn't
Mm-hmm.
happy. He goes, "Well, they just gave up." He goes, "Are these people so out of?" He was saying the same thing you were just saying. Are they so out of touch?
But what does he think that what that's what they've been saying? They've been pushing this open borders and free health care for everybody and votes for illegal since before Trump was elected. So what? Just because they got up on stage and said exactly the same sentiment, how is that suddenly news?
Right. Oh no. See,
You
that's
know?
well. That I think Morning Joe was being a little disingenuous because he knows that's their position is open borders. He knows that.
Exactly. Beto stood in front of the border, the fence where he is, and said, "I'll tear the whole thing down." Remember?
Right. Well,
Wasn't it him?
I think what Morning Joe is afraid of is that they said it out loud.
Yeah. Yeah. Jeez. Red
Well,
in circuses, man.
remember in 2016, I was watching the Democratic convention, and Fox was trying to nail these guys down on this open border thing, and they're saying, "Oh no, we're not really in favor of open borders." He goes, "Yeah, you are." And he goes, "Look," and he was showing different quotes and different clips and stuff. He goes, "No, no, no, we're not in favor of that,"
Exactly.
but they really were. And what Fox was trying to tell the audience was like, "Look, if you vote for these people, they're gonna push open borders. They're just trying to hide it." Right
Yeah.
now. They're trying to hide it from you, and he was right. They were trying to hide it,
Right.
and now they actually came out and said it
And DA
out loud.
mentioned the Great Wall. DA just mentioned the Great Wall of China to keep people out, not to take over the world, but to keep people out. Yeah, yeah. What is this? They've been saying for over 2 years, walls don't work. Walls don't work. Walls don't work. What the hell? Since when?
No,
When
walls
in the
work.
history of ever
No,
has
no,
a wall not worked?
no, walls work. And the funny thing is actually the Great Wall of China. I'm sorry, I saw the Matt Damon movie. It was to keep these aliens out, okay? And it was with that hot-looking Chinese girl actress, and he was there.
Aliens, like grays, like from another planet. Aliens.
If you want to watch a movie that doesn't really mean anything, but it's just fun to watch, and it was the first 4K movie I watched on my big screen TV, and it was phenomenal.
Mhm.
It was that movie with Matt Damon. They were in China. It was during like the Middle Ages, and they were over there trying to get gunpowder. Trying to steal gunpowder, buy gunpowder, learn the secret of gunpowder, bring back to Europe, and there were
Mhm.
smugglers, and they got caught, and then
Mhm.
suddenly they end up on the Great Wall, and these aliens. The reason why the wall was built was because these aliens come down like once every like 80 years, and they try to invade China, and they built this big wall. They built the wall for that. Anyway, that movie was the. Let me tell you something. That movie for
So they
the
can come from outer space, but they can't breach a wall on the surface.
well, yeah, I guess they can't
Is what
land
you.
on the other side of the wall. They land on this one side of the wall, and that's where the wall is. And then they have to come. I didn't say it was had any depth to the movie. What I'm saying was, if you want to watch a movie with the Chinese put a lot of money into this movie. Okay, so it was really worth watching. They put a
Damn.
lot of money into this movie. Yeah, if you want to, actually,
Well,
no,
see, that's how well walls work. Then they keep out aliens from another planet, even if they're flying down from outer
right, they're flying down from space, but instead of landing on the other side of the wall, they land on the side of the wall they have to then attack. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah. But let's get more realistic here, Carl. What
Okay. Well,
what
okay.
are they going to do about zombies? What about zombies? I mean,
Oh
that's the
no.
real question. I mean, we got all these diseases and things happening anyway. Who knows? The next outbreak may be, it may be World War Z, and what are we
It
going to do
could.
about that?
I don't
So
know.
I say
The
walls.
Democrats. I know the Democrats will. I know here the Democrats will take care of the zombies. They'll give them free health care.
Mm. Oh, well, see, now I didn't think of that. See, I am out of touch. Just
free health care.
re-educate the zombies. Well, I already told you my plan for the zombies. I've already got it worked out, so I should run. If we do have the zombie outbreak, I'll run for president of whoever's left.
But no, but I mean,
So
I
here's
can't.
what we're going to do, people.
But you know, the funny
Get
thing
the
is like,
treadmills out. We're going to put the treadmills up, and then we're going to power the nation with the zombies on the treadmill.
well, you know, the funny thing about these
It's
debates is like
good plan.
we were all concerned they're going to give them softball questions, and they were softball questions. But the funny thing about those softball questions was that if I say that was Fox asking, they would have asked a question like, "You're not in favor of like, open borders and free health care for everybody who comes across, and you're going to kill the country." Oh no, not us. But they got asked by Savannah Guthrie. Oh well, how many here raise your hand if you're if you're in favor of decriminalizing the border? And then they're all like, "Oh, we all better raise our
Yeah,
hand." And then they say, "Well, how many of you are in
yeah.
favor of giving free health? Does your plan include free health care for undocumented workers?" And then Biden,
Uh huh.
his hand was the last to go up, but they all got their hand up. So then Biden even, I mean, Biden could have
Mm-hmm.
stayed on the middle ground on this, and even he had to go left because I'm not sure if this was after Kamala Harris beat him up or not. It might have been. Well, you
Mm-hmm.
watched the debate. Was that question before or after the Kamala Harris thing for where she beat Biden up? The question on
Hmm.
the
I don't
question.
know. I don't remember what order it was in.
Okay, because
I think I think it was towards the end. The hands up question was towards the end of the debate, so maybe it was after.
well, see, and the point on that is
But
if Biden wants to
not
hold
100% sure.
right, Biden was going to win by holding
Mm-hmm.
the middle ground, the moderates, right? Well, if he's jumping to the left
Mm-hmm.
also
Mm-hmm.
and everything also, then why go for the old man? If you're going to grab a leftist, well then go
Oh,
for Harris.
absolutely.
Yeah, go for Harris or Buttigieg. You don't need to go for Biden if you want someone in the left. You can go for one of the younger people who are going to be alive for at least 4 years. You know,
Yeah, he
so
took the bait, trying to go further left and saying how
he,
much
he
he hates white people and all that stuff.
he just
It's
gave up.
just
He just gave up the
that
center. Now there's no reason for the center to vote
he
for
took
him.
the
They're like,
bait.
well, yeah. So, well, here's the
Sure.
question. So now, who's the question? Who's left in the center once Biden collapses? Okay, physically and
Yeah.
metaphorically.
Well. Yeah. Yeah.
No, who is left?
There.
I don't
There.
know.
The. Yeah.
The
Well,
chick from
the thing is,
Minnesota.
there are people that people said were more sinners, but they presented themselves as being more leftist on stage. So
Well, how about Klobuchar? Klobuchar
there
from
was.
Minnesota. How
Mhm.
about her?
Uh. Yeah. Well, people like her, and they say that she's supposed to be centrist, but
Well,
she was.
and then
What was it that she
well,
was
well, remember
doing?
also.
I can't.
Remember also with Klobuchar, she got lucky. She
Mhm.
wasn't part of last night's silliness. She was in the first night, so she didn't.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
she wasn't one
Yeah.
of the people who had to raise her hand or not. So now she's had time to think about it, and then so she come up with a good policy position and say they ask her now, and I didn't hear anything from her at all today. So she's been hiding.
Was it the reparations bandwagon that she got on though? Was that the one? I was trying to think of what it was the night because I didn't watch the night before one, but I did watch. I did listen to people's summaries of it, and I think it was that one. The night before they had a everybody is for this, and it was reparations, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Do you recall that?
No. I can't
Okay,
remember.
well,
I can't remember if they all.
maybe I'm conflating that with a different question. Then,
I can't
but
remember if they all
I
went
do
all
think
in
there
on
was
that.
a similar kind of extremely leftist position that everybody was taking the night before, and she was on that stage. So yeah.
Oh, so she might have taken that one also. Well, these people are stupid. If they think that, I mean, if they're all fighting for the left, I mean, there's only going to be one winner on the left. I mean, somebody's got
Mhm.
to occupy the center and then have a shot to,
Mhm.
be there at the end when it's, going to the, final rounds before the convention. But I mean, if you're
Mhm.
just going to all try to occupy the left, you know, well, there are certain people that are going to do better than you. Like Klobuchar is not going to out personality, Buttigieg or Warren or Harris.
Oh my
You
gosh, I
know,
can't stand that guy's face.
But
Buttigieg or whatever, however you pronounce his
Buttigieg.
face.
Yeah.
I can't stand him. He's so weaselly. I see him and I think, oh, if I were a school bully, I would go for that guy because I want to smack him.
Oh, you're not nice.
He's just so weaselly. I'm not violent, but if I were violent, he would be my target because he's just such a ferret. He's just so weaselly.
He's a
And
ferret.
I don't know. Maybe it's something. I just have a natural revulsion to beta males anyway, and that kind of thing. So maybe that's part of it too. But it just, oh, it offends me. So it's such a weak person.
Yeah, no, I
Just
mean,
so weak. I mean,
he's just an opportunist, and it's the funny thing about that is like I remember when he gave his announcement speech, he's saying I want to be chief executive of the country, and he's a mayor. So I was waiting for him to talk about his city, about all the great things he's done as an executive running his city, and he didn't mention anything about what he's done for his city. So that gave me a red flag. Like, wait a second, there must be some shit going on in his city because he's not talking about it. Because if it was great,
he let the people in the protesters in his city toss him around like a chew toy in my former dog's mouth.
right?
He's their chew toy. He's just a dish rag. That man
What?
is not presidential in any
No,
kind of respect.
no, and it's funny because I was talking to a liberal friend of mine today, and we were talking about the Democratic, primary, and I said, so who are you looking at? And Buttigieg's name came out, and so I looked at him. I said, yeah, but he kills black people. And so then he goes, oh, he just started laughing at me, and I go, he's like, oh well, yeah. I go, he hires all these white mean ass cops to go around killing black people, 50-year-old black men,
Oh
and
yeah.
yeah.
But
eh,
see, and that's the other thing. He's a weasel because I heard what he said. He got up there like day or two or three of that debacle when he was trying to save face after he got his ass handed to him by that large black woman at the protest.
Actually, I think that was
He,
the guy's sister or mom that died.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know who she was
yeah.
in respect to the dead person, but he was he said two completely opposite things. He was saying something to the effect of he can't say anything about the case or what the facts are. He knows everybody's hurting, blah blah blah. You can say that that's true, but then he went on to twist and go back on his word and say um, something to the effect of how the policies and how race is handled in the department and all that sort of thing needs to be evaluated. In other words, he's assuming and presuming that it's about race at all.
Right.
And he just went back on it saying he couldn't comment on it, but in the same statement, like two sentences later, said that
Yeah.
it's but obviously we need to deal with how we handle race. What?
Well,
How
because
do you,
it could
the
it could
case we have no facts on?
right because it
You
could have
have to
been
make it about race.
it could have been one of several explanations. One, the guy could have had a knife over his head and charging the cop. Or two, it could have been some cop who got scared because cops get scared, and that's why I always tell people like,
Mhm.
I open carry, always have a gun on me, and we're told like, if
Mhm.
you get pulled over, remember that cop is, you have a gun, that cop is afraid initially, so you got to like remember that, and you got to like de-escalate before he does, and you say you keep your hands on the
Mhm.
steering wheel, the you keep your seatbelt on, you don't move, you have your windows rolled down, the engine turned off, and as soon as he walks up, you say, I have a firearm. What do you want me to do, and when do you want me to do it? You don't reach for your wallet first. You don't reach for the insurance, the registration. You don't do shit until he gets there and starts telling you exactly what to do. I mean, yeah, I mean,
Right. Right.
you don't, like as he's coming up to the car, you don't even reach back to grab your wallet. Okay, if you're a guy, you have a wallet in your back pocket. You don't reach into the glove
But
box to
as
grab for the insurance. You
but
do
as far as
everything
that case,
perfect.
Carl, do we even have any information to even know what could have been or should have been or
The
maybe
only
was?
only
Do we
information I
even
saw,
have?
we have some. We have some. Some of the information I heard was
Yeah.
a couple
Yeah.
of things. One, the body cams were turned
Mhm.
off, which in my
That was the thing that the cops should be chewed out about. They messed up body cams off.
okay,
That
they should be
is the only thing that I
they
knew
should
at the
be they
time
should
that
be
he made that speech. that we should be saying there was a mishandling of the situation, because that makes the situation suspect just by virtue of doing it, that of forgetting to have your body cam on, or equipment failure, whatever the case may be. But that affects all LEOs, because you don't have your body cam on, and then people start acting up and calling it all about race.
Right.
Now
In fact, the
you've
body
affected,
cams. Right. In fact,
everybody.
body cams generally save the cops' butt. And I was
Exactly.
talking to a lot of cops about that before they were instituted up here. And and I understand nobody wants somebody watching over your shoulder, literally watching over your shoulder 24/7. I mean, you're driving, whatever. Somebody's always watching you, hearing you, whatever, because it goes back up to the cloud and it's back in the station and the whole thing in real time. I get that. Nobody
Yeah,
wants to
but
be
if I was a
watched.
cop, I wouldn't go out without it on. I would
Right.
never. As a
But
cop
what? But
in today's political climate, post Obama, but
well, no,
that's what
post
I
any.
see both
Well, no, no. Even up. No, no, no,
Buttigieg doing.
no, no.
Same
Forget.
thing as Obama.
No, no, no. Forget the race issue. I live in a town that's like 85, 90% white people, and I'm a criminal defense attorney. And I'll tell you right now, I'm very busy. Okay, so as far as okay, so I mean, there's a lot. There's not like
Oh
crime like
yeah,
in
yeah,
the like inner city crime, but there's a lot of crime up here. What I was telling the cops was like,
sure,
look, and I told them this before ahead of time. I go, look, this will cover your ass. I go, if you're doing everything right, okay, all these claims
yeah,
where like my clients say, oh, you did this, you did this, you did this, and you come to me and say, Carl, man, I didn't do that. And some of these guys, when they tell me that, I go, I know these guys. I'm like, okay. Now some guys will tell me that. I go, you're full of shit. I know you did it. Same thing. Okay.
mhm,
But I go,
mhm, mhm,
one, if
yeah.
cops know they have that on, then they are going to act better. And two, if you're acting right, and then everything goes down right. And
If you're a good cop, yeah.
how many
If
YouTube
you're a good
videos
cop, you don't mind.
how many YouTube videos have we seen where like they'll say, "Oh, the cop was mean to me. The cop is this. The cop is that," and then here comes the chief. He goes, "You know what? I'm tired of hearing this shit. Here's the body cam, and it shows just the opposite of what the asshole was saying, and it shows the cops from the right, and this guy
Exactly.
was a dick." Okay, so I said,
Yeah.
"Look, this will protect you," and it does. Now, if this
And
guy didn't.
some of these
All right,
liars were people who were allegedly respected members of the community, people who
right.
were professionals,
I
college educated people lying like that.
and worse than
So
that,
we're
people who
not
knew the
even
cops had
talking
right.
about just, basic criminal element people, but these are just people. This is just, straight up Jussie Smollett type situations where these are privileged people lying about it. So, and it's not even just about, like you said, it's not even just about the black-white thing. It's just, just get in on the whole, police brutality thing. Well, okay, there's some bad cops, but I am like, yeah, turn on the damn body cameras, like you said. It will make people who are borderline act better, be more conscious about following the rules, or even not even about not acting badly, but just about making sure you remember to read the Miranda rights and the stuff you're supposed to do so the case doesn't get thrown out. But even still, good cops shouldn't care, because then it just proves that, hey, I'm not doing anything that I shouldn't be doing.
Right.
That's you know that's all. I think it's great. And I have had experience like you, not like you, but I've had experience like in the sense of people saying stuff to me. Oh, the cops all did this and the cops all did that, and I said, I reserve judgment, but all I can say is since body cams are going on most cops nowadays, you're not going to have a lot of jailhouse. What am I trying to say? Belief
Lawsuits.
systems making their way
Right.
out into the public of, yeah, the cops always do this and the cops never do that. Because
Right.
I have heard it, because unfortunately, having had a relationship with somebody who found themselves in prison, the cops didn't read me my rights, and then I was in jail, and they were all saying that they never read them their rights either. And I said, well, isn't it a good thing that body cams are becoming common? So if that is indeed happening,
Right.
it won't be happening anymore.
Right. Now the
And
rest
now,
of the facts,
end of
yeah.
discussion. I don't want to hear your whining.
Right. Now, the rest of the facts I heard,
Body cam.
potentially the guy came out of the car with a knife over his head. So again, it could be one of a few answers. One, cop was negligent. He got scared. He fired when he shouldn't have. I mean, that happens. Okay, people get
Hmm.
scared.
And people make mistakes.
People make
Yeah.
mistakes. Two, the cop was some racist piece of shit. Just wanted to shoot a black guy. Okay, that's probably unbelievable, but that's an issue. Or 3, the guy had a knife
Oh,
and was coming at the cop, and the
whatever
cops,
can happen.
right? Or 3, the guy really had a
Hmm.
knife and was coming at the cop, and the cop had to defend himself and shot him. So until we find out what
Right.
happened, now if the guy had his freaking body cam on, okay, then we would know the answer right now, and we wouldn't have to be speculating.
Right.
But for some reason,
Right.
he didn't decide to just, and it's right there. It's a little button. It's right on your chest. You know, it's like, I mean, I've seen these.
Right.
My guys walk around with them up here.
Well,
You
that's
just
why I
push,
did.
boom.
I did also have the fourth possibility, I guess, in your account, equipment failure. So if there was that, that can happen.
That
Batteries worn out, batteries out, blah
Yeah,
blah
you know,
blah.
I'm sorry.
System failure.
As a defense attorney, I'm going to jump in on that one. This what happens when they used to have like dash cam videos like on the car, and
Yeah.
here's how it would work. If the dash cam video showed something in favor of the cops, it was working that day. If it showed something in favor of my
Yeah.
guy, it wasn't on that day. Like I
Oh,
had,
yeah, yeah,
no,
yeah. No,
no,
no, no.
I had,
I'm not saying
yeah,
that's an excuse. Yeah,
right.
no, it's. I'm not saying it's an excuse for. Like, in other words, because there's equipment failure, we're going to favor the cop in the argument. I'm just saying that it's possible that he didn't just
Possible.
forget to push a
Yeah,
button.
it's
Didn't
possible,
forget to
but
push a
it
button.
always seemed like
That's all I'm saying.
I've had a couple of cases. One case in particular it reminds me. This guy was charged with kidnapping. He threw his girlfriend out of a car while they were driving. He was mad at her. Did it eluded? I mean, he drove 100 miles an hour. Could have almost ran over a couple of people. Did everything. I mean, you name it. It was just, had drugs in the car. I mean, all the tension. So then he gets to a gas station, and the cops are blocking him. He gets around the back of the gas station, and the cop comes around from the other side, and then the cops say my guy decided to ram the cop car, right? And so anyway, so I'm reading the
Hmm.
report. I go, well, that sounds kind of stupid because he wasn't going to get it. His car was much smaller. The cop had the special bumper out front. He's right in front of him. He wasn't going
Hmm.
anywhere.
Hmm.
So I'm talking to my guy, and I show him the report, and he goes, Carl, everything in that report is true. Okay, I did all of these things, except I didn't ram that damn cop car. He ran me. And so I said, so I'm looking, okay, where's the
Oh,
dash cam?
wow.
Yeah, I go, where's the dash cam? And sure enough, the dash cam it was the battery wasn't on or whatever. It wasn't working. The battery was broke. I don't know, something stupid. And I said, okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, but I mean, he guy's like, no, I did everything they said, but I didn't ram that cop car. He goes, I backed up to get away from. He came at me and hit me. Now the funny thing about that too is, the cop was in every right to ram him at that point to stop him from potentially killing a whole bunch of civilians, right? Because he's driving around a
Right,
gas
right.
station.
So
There's people there,
the lie was stupid.
right? The lie, he
Yeah,
just
yeah. It
like
was an unnecessary and stupid lie for the cop to
wanted to add
say.
another charge, to
Sure.
the case.
Okay,
But
gotcha, gotcha.
he
One
like
more.
he already had like 12. He didn't need like another one, but he wanted to add that one so much. He says, "Oh, he ran me." But versus,
Yeah.
if he said, "Yeah, I rammed him," nobody could have
So
said
my
it was
question
wrong.
to you is adding that one more thing and being caught uh, fabricating that. Like if you were able to actually say it was a fabrication on the cop's part, is that enough to get the other charges dismissed because of that?
No, no, no.
No,
Generally,
that's
no,
interesting.
no. Generally, like suppression of evidence and stuff. That's like it's a prophylactic, if you will. I don't know the word. It's designed to keep cops in check. What we do is get rid of that charge and probably get that cop, fired or suspended or something. But no, my guy still committed the
Mhm.
other crimes. That doesn't mean you get to walk because the cop was an idiot at the end of it. Now, if
Mhm.
the difference would be like, say, the cop lied about, probable cause to get a search warrant, and then they went in and they found a bunch of
Right,
stuff.
right.
That's
Or
different because
planted drugs on you
right,
because you smacked this kid, whatever. He did something completely unrelated.
right,
I'm
because
just
right.
saying, if the
Nope.
cop is doing something essentially criminal too, does it cancel the other one out?
No, no, no. It'd be
Okay.
like if my guy was driving and he hit he hit a serial killer. Well, he still hit the serial killer.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
well,
guy was a
yeah.
serial killer. Like,
Read
oh,
that's a
yeah,
whole other.
like they
Yeah.
rolled the guy over. They go, oh shit, we had a
He
warrant for this
didn't read
guy.
you your rights. Oh well, okay. Well, you gotta let you go. You've been done wrong, Mr. Serial Killer. Have a nice day.
Right,
So,
that kind of thing.
yeah,
Oh, hey, did you see this
I
story?
get that.
You see the story I got up there right now?
Let's
North
see.
North Korea says Trump's offer to meet Kim very interesting. Did you
Says,
hear about this one?
I can't see it yet. Maybe it's not up yet.
Oh, no, it's been up. You should be able to see it
Mhm.
now. North Korea says Trump's offer to meet Kim very interesting.
Oh, my screen's frozen. My screen is frozen. I just realized you haven't moved in like 3 seconds, so
It's like,
I'm
I'm
refreshing my
frozen.
screen.
Don't move.
Sorry, apologize for that.
That's okay. Yeah. Anyway, so Trump sent a tweet out. I think it was a tweet. Let me see. Oh, well, I'll scroll down to it. Let's find it. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Well,
So
they
they
don't show the.
haven't face to face seen each other yet?
Not since Hanoi, but he sent a tweet. Where the hell
Right,
was it?
right.
But anyway, well, I can't find.
He
I can't
went to
find.
Hanoi, but I didn't know if they were in the same room or if it
Oh
was
no no
through,
no
because
no
I
no
know they
no
had
no 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 no
teams.
no 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 no. Stop. Sorry. No, he went to the
Okay.
G20. He went to the G20. North Korea is not part of the
Yeah.
G20, so North Korea wasn't there. Now
Okay.
South Korea was there, and so Moon was like, "Hey man, you should like you need to like meet this guy again." And Trump's like, "Oh shit, we got all this crap going on." And so Trump came up with the idea, didn't tell anybody. He sends a tweet out without informing his staff. Says, "Hey, Kim, if you're reading this, which of course he knows he was going to, if you're reading this, I'm going to be down in South Korea. Maybe we can meet like at the DMZ and just to shake hands and say hello." And he writes question mark exclamation point. Let me know if you're interested. He just sends a fucking tweet
Oh
out.
my
I love this
God.
guy. He's like fantastic. I love it. He's great. So
That's
anyway,
hilarious.
yeah. So the North Korean state-run media, which is Kim, says that sounds very interesting, and so they're waiting for an official invitation from the government because, well, I mean, Trump is doing enough. They want to make it somewhat official. So it sounds like Trump's going to be in South Korea for 2 days. So while he's down there, I'm
Uh huh.
sure, and Moon gets along with Kim pretty good. They've been goofing off at each other. So the two of them just head up to the DMZ. He'll be on the other side. They'll shake hands, say hi, maybe go sit down and talk and bullshit for a few minutes. Keep Bolton out of the room. And try to get something done. You know. I don't know, man. At least kind of get it going in the right direction again. Actually, I don't mind. Look, and I said this before. I don't mind if when Trump gets together with these guys, they don't do shit. Nothing gets done. They just hang out in a room and bullshit for an hour and talk like about, the TMZ thing. Hey, yeah. So like Kim goes, hey, is it true they really let you grab them by their, vaginas? And Trump's like, yeah, man, they do,
Yeah,
man.
yeah. They're not going to be getting They're not going to be hammering out any
I don't,
strategic
no,
compacts between them.
right. And
That's
who
not what it's
cares?
about.
Who cares? I don't,
Yeah.
I just want them to get along. Okay. If these two guys are getting along,
Sure.
then,
Yeah.
you know, that's better for all of us. Then
But
they're
it's not.
not shooting
Yeah, it
missiles at
is.
each
But it's
other.
not even about. It's not even. Yes, it's about perception because it's really about what North and South Korea hammers out. They're the
Right.
ones that need to hammer stuff out.
Yeah. Well,
It's
Moon
it
Moon was
really.
yeah, and Moon was pushing Trump. He says, like the letters are nice, but you need, you know, I need you to kind of get going a little bit with this guy over here because he needs some help too.
Uh
Everybody
huh.
needs some
Uh huh.
cover. Okay, Kim needs cover.
Yeah. Yeah.
Moon needs
Yeah.
cover. Now there's this Mueller bullshit's over. Trump's getting back close to Putin, which those two guys are natural friends. You can just tell. That's gonna be good. So then that's Russia with the the Russia China North Korea dynamic. So I mean that's only positive. That's only going to go in the right direction. Even Trump looking at
Right.
when they asked Trump at that press thing with Putin sitting across from him, he says, "Hey, are you gonna talk to Putin about to stop interfering in the U.S. elections?" And he goes, "Yeah, okay, hold on. Hey," and he turns to Putin. He goes, "Hey, stop meddling in our elections." You know, and they both laugh. Ha 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 ha. I mean, that's great. Also, the press back here like, "Arr, arr." I was watching some of Brian Williams. They were like, "Arr, arr." Just making a whole mockery of the whole thing. Like that was all a bunch of bullshit. It's like, yeah, stop doing that. And
Yeah.
Putin's got a big smile on his face. And then Trump said something even better. It got better than that. And they show this on MSNBC also. Um, Trump starts talking about the fake news. He goes, he's talking about the fake news in front of him. He goes, "Oh, we got the fake news." He goes, "You don't have that in your country, right?" And then Putin goes, no, actually, we have fake news. And then, like, MSNBC says, MSNBC gives his little story. Since Putin's been elected, 26 journalists have been killed in Russia or something. And there's Trump all like, you don't have any fake news. Like, you killed them all, didn't you? Like, oh. He goes, yeah, how'd you get
So
away with
funny.
that? Yeah, so I mean, guys just, but I mean, that's what I'm saying. If he's out there talking to these people, like, gee, I don't know what happened.
Well,
I don't
and
know,
so did
you know.
Kim Jong Un. He killed the diplomats from the last summit
Yeah,
as
he was
well.
pissed. Yeah,
So
he was pissed off. They kind of he didn't like the result. So, but see, that gives good cover
so
too. That actually gives good cover to the Trump, Kim thing not working out. See, Kim can say, "Hey, sorry that didn't
sure.
work out. Like, don't worry, I got rid of that idiot. I killed him." And Trump's like, "Oh
Well, that's
yeah,
obviously
yeah,
yes.
you know,
Yeah. When you when you're the when you're the scapegoat, you're literally the scapegoat in communist regimes. So it's an unfortunate reality, and but the perception is that Trump is a strong president, and he is bringing America to a stronger position in the world. I'm talking about the perception of other world leaders and other nations. See, the other lie that I heard the Democrats saying during the debate and afterwards is that Trump has decreased our position in the world. That our allies and that people have less respect for us. I think it's completely the opposite.
totally
And
the
I don't
opposite."
know what planet they live on because I live on Earth, and from what I can see, it's the opposite.
It's the opposite. Like,
And
again, they may not like the fact that he's obnoxious, but they're if he says, "Hey, I want this," that guy from the EU when he was threatening all these tariffs on the EU regarding Germany and auto manufacturers and stuff. That guy from the EU that flew all the way from Brussels to Washington, with his team and met with Trump in the White House and said, "Hey, I need some help. Can you work out a deal with me?" And just unilaterally just came over and did it. Trump didn't have to fly to Brussels. This guy jumped on a fucking plane and said, "Oh shit, I better take care of this now." And he knew exactly what to do. He came over
mm-hmm.
here, kissed Trump's ass, called it ice cream, and said, "Let's make a deal." And they did. They got
Okay,
something
yeah,
hammered
but
out.
to be honest, there's only us, Russia, China, and Russia only kind of. I mean, Russia's just a powerful militarily, but they don't have the economy that they had as the USSR.
Right.
And they didn't even have that anyway. They had, because they put all their money into their military, they didn't really have a very strong economy as far as the whole nation. They had a lot of starving people. I've heard stories
Right.
tell me that are horrific. But, mostly it's us, and our president shouldn't be running to places like freaking Brussels. What do they even make in Brussels? What do they besides Brussels sprouts? I mean,
They don't make
it's
anything in Brussels. They're
anyway.
the head of the EU, you silly girl. You know that.
Yeah, but I'm saying, in other words, they're not a powerful nation.
Well,
They have a seat there,
they're a powerful trading bloc.
but that's like they're yes, the EU, not
Yeah.
Brussels. Okay, yes, I understand that,
Right.
but that's like saying it's like saying the UN. Okay, the UN is located in New York. Am I right? Yeah, the UN is located in New York. So I don't know
Hmm.
why it is, but anyway, it doesn't make New York the UN. It makes the UN just happens to be
Well,
residing there.
well,
So my point is, I
actually,
guess
well, yeah.
people,
Actually the way the EU is run, they do have a lot of autocratic
yeah,
power. Unlike the UN, the EU has a lot of autocratic power. That's why British are having such a hard time getting out of it. It's like they won't let them leave.
hmm
And if they leave, they're going to threaten them all kinds of this, that, and the other. The UN can never do that. Like if you want to leave
yeah.
the UN, they say, "Well, we're going to do something to you," and they said, "Yeah, fuck you. You're not going to do anything to us." Well, you're probably right. We're not. We're going to argue about it
Well,
it,
it's
debate it for
just
the next
because the
2 years.
difference is economics. What
Right.
does the UN do? A strongly worded letter? I mean, sanctions.
Right.
Okay, you're really bad, and we don't like you. Okay,
Right.
You know,
Right.
that's the power of the UN, because the power of the UN is mostly like us. You know, it's like,
Yeah, it's our
and that's
money
the
in our
that's
military. You're right.
that yeah, it's us. So, but the lie of, oh, we don't contribute to the UN. Are you kidding? We contribute our military. That's why the UN even exists, because
Right.
there's no such thing as a powerful body without military in the world, as far as world,
No,
leaders.
if no, if you don't have if you don't have a military to back up what you're saying, if you don't have the ability to protect your own sea lanes and other people can muscle in on
Yeah,
it, then yeah, then you can't do
yeah,
shit. But anyway, I tell you what, Miss
yeah. And
Effie,
that's
I'm
another
gonna
thing. If
go ahead.
mm-hmm.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, if England wants to trade with another nation that's got these agreements with the EU, what is the EU going to do? I mean, it's
Well,
they still have separate currencies. They're not all on the euro dollar. I mean, they have the euro dollar, but don't they still have separate currencies?
I don't know because I know
Can't they
that.
still trade?
Well, once they leave
What
the
about
once
Bitcoin?
yeah, right. They're all, Britain went to Bitcoin. They said we'll get around this. We'll just do Bitcoin. Everybody get on mines and stuff and do Bitcoin.
Well,
Like,
well, what I mean is, could they escalate it to some kind of physical altercation between nations over, oh, you can't make a trade between whatever,
well, it's
England and
funny.
Germany, say,
The funny thing about
you
that
know?
was when Macron was talking to somebody over there about talking about forming a European army, and the
Yeah,
thought
that's
process
really ugly.
was that going to be used to enforce? Was that army going to be used against, say, European nations that were acting badly, you know, or was it going to be
Hmm.
used to defend
It
it from
always
like
goes back to
Russia?
fascism with these people, Carl.
Yes, it does.
Damn
Well,
it. Well,
they're
you would have thought
there.
they would have learned. It hasn't even been 100 years. So
I agree. It
there's
always
still people alive today that just escaped all that nonsense, and they,
right.
I'm not going to try to do it again.
Yep, I
Anyway,
totally agree.
okay,
But anyway, yeah, it's I've
it's
been on for
nighttime.
it's nighttime. I've been on for a couple hours. Early for you, but late for me. But anyway, thank you, Miss Effie
It's early
Real.
for me.
Thank you, Miss Effie Real, for the call, and I'm glad I was able to get you back on the phone.
Okay, well, thanks for indulging my rambling on
No, no,
everything
that wasn't
political
rambling. It was
tonight.
really good conversation. Thanks. But anyway, girl, have a good one. Okay.
Night, night.
All right. Bye bye. And that was the great Effie Loves America, also known as Effie Real. And anyway, I've been on for a couple hours right now. And for all those who have been watching and those who will be watching later, and all those in the chat, thank you so much. And thank you again, Effie Loves America, for the great call in. So, anyway, I'm going to go ahead and close the live stream down for tonight. So, again, thank you to everybody. Have a great night. And for Carl's opinion, this is Carl. Take care. Bye bye.